There are mornings when you wake with a heaviness you cannot explain, a pressure in the chest, a quiet dread, a sense that something unseen is waiting for you out there, beyond the door, beyond the hours of the day. You do not speak it aloud, but you feel it. I hope today doesn't break me. Fear whispers before the sun rises, but hear me now. There exists a spiritual law older than your fear, stronger than your doubt, and more faithful than your uncertainty. A law so powerful that the moment you truly grasp it, fear loses its voice. That law is contained in the words of Psalm 91. Do not rush past this. Most men read Scripture casually without realizing they are holding the blueprint to their own protection. They glance at the words but never unlock the authority hidden behind them. Psalm 91 is not poetry. It is a covenant. It is a contract. It is a spiritual decree that arms a man with boldness no danger can challenge. Ask yourself something honest. How many days of your life have been guided by fear, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of sickness, fear of betrayal, fear of not having enough, fear of the future, fear of the unknown, fear of the very shadows your imagination creates? Fear has stolen more opportunities from men than any enemy they will ever meet. And yet Psalm 91 offers a different life, a fearless life, a life where you walk as one protected, guided, covered by a power far beyond your own, a life where danger may approach, but it cannot overtake, a life where uncertainty still exists, but panic has no place, a life where you rise in the morning and say with certainty, I am not alone today. Before I reveal how this psalm becomes a shield around you, you must understand this. You do not overcome fear by resisting it. You overcome fear by replacing it with a greater truth. Fear thrives in the absence of faith. Fear grows in the absence of spiritual authority. Fear dominates the man who tries to face life on his own strength. Psalm 91 changes that. It gives you access to a higher strength, a greater certainty, a divine confidence that lifts you above the reach of ordinary fear. It is not merely a passage, it is a fortress. But you must walk into it. Think of the moments when fear has paralyzed you, when you stood at the edge of a decision but stepped back instead of forward, when you wanted to speak but remained silent, when you wanted to rise but felt unworthy, when you allowed fear to steal your voice, your power, your purpose. All those moments trace back to one truth. You believed you were unprotected. But imagine waking tomorrow with a different belief, one born from Psalm 91. Imagine rising with the conviction that you dwell in the secret place of the Most High, and nothing formed against you can enter that refuge. Imagine walking through your day knowing you are carried, shielded, guarded. Imagine fear knocking and you answering it with faith so strong it cannot enter. This is not imagination, this is law. Look at the promises woven through Psalm 91. Shelter, refuge, deliverance from traps, protection from sickness, strength in darkness, angels assigned to guard you, assurance that no evil shall befall you. These are not metaphors. They are conditions of a divine agreement. The man who believes them does not walk as a trembling servant. He walks as a fearless heir. Let me offer you a challenge. Why do you think some men endure storms with calm while others collapse at the first sign of trouble? It is not personality. It is not upbringing. It is not luck. It is the presence or absence of spiritual certainty. The man anchored in Psalm 91 does not panic when trouble rises. He does not retreat when shadows grow. He does not crumble when news is bad or when the world trembles. He may feel fear knocking at the edge of his mind, but he does not accept it. He stands under a different covering, the covering of divine protection. And understand this, fear vanishes when your spirit becomes convinced that you are protected by a higher power. A man cannot fear what cannot destroy him. Psalm 91 teaches you this truth until it becomes the very pattern of your mind. But you must not read it as a casual observer. You must read it as a participant, a claimant, a man stepping into a promise made long before he was born. Hear me well. Psalm 91 contains the boldest declaration a man can make against fear, not by pretending danger does not exist, but by affirming that you are not subject to it. It removes you from the realm of panic and places you in the realm of faith. It does not erase storms, but it makes them powerless to break you. Now imagine the life that unfolds when you begin every morning with that certainty. Imagine beginning your day with the decree, "My refuge, my fortress, my God, in him will I trust." Imagine the strength that enters your voice, the calm that enters your mind, the courage that settles in your spirit. Imagine speaking to your fears with the authority of heaven behind you. The world around you may remain chaotic, but you will not. Your circumstances may remain uncertain, but you will not. Your path may contain obstacles, but you will not bow to them. You will move through life with quiet boldness, unshaken by the noise that terrifies lesser minds. And let me tell you a secret. When you carry the presence of fearlessness, people notice. They feel something different around you. They sense strength, stability, assurance. They look to you for guidance. They trust your leadership. They seek your counsel. Fearless men attract influence because the world is starving for certainty. This is why Psalm 91 must become part of your daily discipline. Not a ritual, not a superstition, but a spiritual weapon, a shield, a declaration, a reminder that you do not walk alone, that your life is covered, that you dwell under protection the world cannot understand and fear cannot overcome. So steady your heart now. Guard your attention. What you are about to hear is not mere scripture. It is a blueprint for fearless living. If you will receive it, repeat it, believe it, and claim it, fear will lose its authority over your life. And each morning you will rise with the strength of one who walks beneath divine wings. Psalm 91 is the key. Unlock it, and fear will never rule you again. Every man lives within two worlds at once. The first is the visible world of circumstance, the one that changes with the weather, the one that trembles under the weight of fear. The second is the inner world of thought, the unseen kingdom that no man may enter but yourself. This inner kingdom is where victory or defeat begins. When Scripture declares, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty," it speaks of that inner dwelling. The secret place is not found in geography. It is found in awareness. It is a state of mind in which fear cannot breathe. It is the fortress of faith that exists within every man, waiting to be occupied by his belief. Most men live outside this fortress. They rise each morning exposed to fear, hoping the day will be kind, but expecting that it may not. They look at the world and see danger. They look at themselves and feel small. Their thoughts wander like beggars through dark alleys of doubt, and then they wonder why life strikes them without mercy. But the man who understands this psalm does not beg for peace. He dwells in it. He lives inside his conviction that he is guarded by an unseen power. He thinks within it, walks within it, speaks from within it. His mind becomes a fortress, and his heart becomes a throne from which calmness reigns. Protection begins in the mind. Fear cannot enter a consciousness that has accepted divine safety as its law. You are not protected because you pray once. You are protected because you believe continually. The moment your faith becomes constant, the universe organizes itself around that certainty. The subconscious mind is the bridge between your belief and your experience. It accepts whatever thought you feed it as command. If you feed it pictures of danger, it will interpret life as peril. But if you feed it assurance, safety, and divine trust, it will move the unseen forces of life to fulfill that assurance. The psalm is not promise only. It is instruction in how to train the mind. Faith is not an act, it is a residence. To believe is to move mentally into a higher dwelling. Fear may still cry at the gate, but it cannot enter a house where faith keeps watch. When you decide that you live under the protection of the Almighty, you have already withdrawn permission from fear. A man once told me that he had survived a shipwreck while the storm destroyed everything around him. He said, "I repeated Psalm 91 until I could feel peace stronger than the storm." That peace became his shield. Waves could not touch a mind that had already taken refuge in certainty. Fear and faith cannot share the same throne. When one sits, the other departs. You cannot serve both at once. You must choose daily which will rule you, the law of fear that weakens or the law of faith that fortifies. Fear whispers that you are alone. Faith reminds you that you are carried. Fear paints pictures of loss. Faith writes decrees of protection. Fear convinces man that he is separated from divine power. Faith restores his remembrance that he was never apart. The cure for fear is not resistance, it is remembrance. You do not defeat darkness by wrestling it. You defeat it by turning on the light. The man who remembers his connection to divine law steps instantly out of the reach of panic. Think of sunlight. When you stand in its path, darkness has no existence where light abides. So it is with the mind that dwells in divine thought. Fear is the shadow that disappears when you step into faith. Every thought of protection you hold is a key that unlocks the door to the secret place. Every repetition of truth builds a higher wall around your peace. The psalm is not recited for ritual. It is spoken to impress belief upon the mind until that belief becomes natural. Say within yourself now, "I abide under the shadow of the Almighty. No fear can find me. No evil can reach me. I dwell in peace, and peace surrounds me." Let that be not a sentence, but a state. Each repetition deepens its foundation until faith becomes the atmosphere in which you breathe. Fear is suggestion. It operates only through imagination. It cannot touch the man who has trained imagination to picture protection instead. The fearful imagine disaster until they feel its shadow. The faithful imagine safety until they radiate it. Both are creating. Only one creates strength. The world will test your confidence. Storms will come, opinions will threaten, news will shake the timid, but the man anchored in divine law remains calm. He does not deny the storm, he denies its power to rule his mind. And that denial, spoken with conviction, becomes decree. Life obeys it. The greatest battles are not fought in fields, but in thoughts. Every fear conquered internally prevents 100 defeats externally. The moment you withdraw your attention from fear, you disarm it. The moment you turn your thought to faith, you invoke invisible aid. Faith is a mental command that opens every hidden gate of strength within you. It is not blind, it sees farther than eyes can reach. It is not fragile, it endures after reason fails. Faith is the silent law that connects you with the power that never trembles. When fear visits, greet it with remembrance. Say to it, "You have mistaken your address. I dwell in the secret place of the Most High. You have no authority here. Speak it until your own heart hears and obeys." The subconscious does not reason, it responds. Feed it confidence, and it will turn that confidence into circumstances that justify it. Feed it fear, and it will create evidence to confirm your dread. Choose your impressions wisely, for they become the architecture of your life. The man who knows his protection blesses others without effort. His calm becomes their comfort. His composure steadies their shaking. His words carry authority because they are spoken from peace. Even his silence teaches courage. I have stood beside men who radiated such faith that danger seemed ashamed to approach them. Their presence was command. They did not speak of power, they embodied it. The world bends gently around such souls because nature itself respects certainty. Spiritual protection is not isolation from life, it is mastery of it. It does not remove you from challenge, it removes fear's control over you. You will still walk among storms, but you will not belong to them. You will stand within noise, but silence will reign in you. The law of divine shelter is the law of alignment. When your thoughts agree with divine truth, life agrees with you. The moment you decide that you live in protection, you have already created the condition. Courage is the offspring of certainty. The man who knows he is guarded dares where others retreat. He steps forward while others hesitate. The secret of his confidence is not arrogance. It is faith expressed through calm conviction. Understand that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that faith is greater. Each time you act in that decision, you strengthen the spiritual muscle that builds protection around you. The fearless man becomes magnetic. Courage draws strength. Faith draws opportunity. Peace draws guidance. When fear leaves your atmosphere, everything of power begins to approach. I have known businessmen, leaders, and laborers alike who proved this law. One man began each morning by reading Psalm 91 aloud before leaving his home. Within months, he said his days unfolded with uncanny order. Delays dissolved, helpers appeared, difficulties softened. He did not change the world, he changed his dwelling. Fear makes man vibrate in discord with divine order. Faith restores harmony. When your mind is at one with divine law, you attract its protection as naturally as a magnet draws metal. It is not the psalm alone that protects. It is your belief in the principle behind it. The words are the seed. Faith is the soil. You must cultivate both daily. Repetition engraves belief. Belief creates atmosphere. Atmosphere becomes protection. Once faith becomes habitual, fear finds no doorway through which to enter. And remember this, the peace you carry becomes the peace you spread. When a man dwells in calm confidence, he changes the temperature of every room he enters. His family feels safer. His work flows smoother. Even strangers are lifted by his composure. You must become that man. The one who carries the presence of quiet strength, who speaks few words but all of them steady, who walks through difficulty as though led by unseen hand. Each morning, before the noise of the world can reach you, close your eyes and enter the secret place. Picture yourself enveloped in light, shielded by invisible calm. Speak your decree. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty. No fear can enter. No harm can prevail. No doubt can disturb. Stay there until peace becomes your pulse. Then go forth, not as one hoping for safety, but as one embodying it. The law of divine shelter is simple but supreme. As you dwell in thought, so shall you dwell in life. Therefore, let your first dwelling be faith. Build its walls with conviction. Roof it with gratitude. Guard it with repetition. Fear may knock, but faith will answer, and peace will abide forever. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In him will I trust. These words contain the secret of invincibility. To say them without belief is to whisper to the wind. To say them with conviction is to call forth an army of invisible power. Trust is not a feeling. It is an act of mental discipline. Faith is not hope. It is training. The man who makes trust his daily exercise becomes untouchable to fear. Faith is the armor of the Spirit. It does not arrive by chance. It is forged through repetition, decision, and obedience to divine order. Just as the blacksmith hammers steel until it becomes unbreakable, so must you hammer your thoughts until they shine with certainty. The weak pray for strength. The wise build it through daily thought. Every idea you entertain either defends you or exposes you. A single thought of fear opens a gate. A single thought of faith closes it. The mind is the battlefield where victory or defeat is decided long before events unfold. When fear gains entry, defeat follows. When faith commands the gate, all adversity loses its weapon. The psalm says, "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day." The terror by night represents the unseen, the fears that creep silently into imagination. The arrow by day represents the visible, the crises that strike openly. Both obey the same law. neither can harm the man who guards his thought. Mental discipline is the watchtower of the soul. It is the habit of refusing entrance to images of danger and misfortune. It is the deliberate act of substituting faith where fear once stood. The law of substitution governs all inner transformation. You cannot remove a thought by fighting it. You replace it with one of higher power. When fear whispers, "You may lose," respond with, "I am protected." When anxiety imagines failure, speak, "My fortress cannot fall." When the mind trembles at uncertainty, command, "I trust the law of God that never sleeps." You cannot think two thoughts at once. Every moment spent in faith displaces a moment that would have belonged to fear. A worker once told me how he transformed his entire life through this principle. He had lived in constant fear of losing his position. Every morning his heart was heavy with doubt, and that doubt made him timid. But one day he began his mornings differently. He read Psalm 91 aloud before sunrise. He spoke it until he felt peace replacing anxiety. Within weeks his manner changed. He walked with quiet assurance, worked with joy, and carried himself as one certain of favor. His superiors noticed not his words, but his composure. Instead of dismissal, they gave him advancement. His promotion was not reward, it was reflection. Faith is invisible armor, yet those around you feel it. There is a quality in the man of conviction that needs no explanation. It steadies the uncertain, disarms hostility, and compels respect. Men may not understand his source, but they know his strength is not ordinary. Every piece of this armor must be forged through choice. Belief is the helmet that guards your vision. Clarity is the breastplate that protects your purpose. Words are the sword that carves through confusion. When you speak from faith, you strike at fear's illusion and dissolve it. Fear's greatest trick is to make you believe it has substance. But fear is only imagination without discipline. Once you return command to faith, fear vanishes like smoke in sunlight. You will find that most of life's dangers exist first as thoughts, and thoughts can be mastered. The process of building this armor is simple, yet few will do it. It demands the daily exercise of repeating truth until it becomes automatic. A single act of faith may win a moment. A habit of faith wins a lifetime. The mind, like muscle, grows by repetition. The man who trains his thought as diligently as others train their bodies becomes impervious to defeat. In the beginning, this training may feel mechanical. You may declare protection while still trembling. You may speak faith while still feeling fear. Do not be deceived by emotion. The repetition itself is building your strength. Every word spoken with intention lays another layer of armor upon your mind. I have often said, belief is not born, it is built. You construct it brick by brick through thought, speech, and decision. You hammer it with persistence until it becomes unshakable. You do not wait for faith to appear, you train it into existence. Consider the blacksmith again. His first strikes are uncertain. The metal resists him. But as he continues, sparks fly, and what was rough becomes refined. So it is with your thought. The more you practice replacing fear with faith, the stronger and brighter your belief becomes. Faith, once built, creates an atmosphere around you. You will notice it first in small ways. Peace where there was tension, clarity where there was confusion, success where there was struggle. Others will notice before you do. They will speak of your steadiness, your confidence, your calm under pressure. They will sense a presence about you that commands trust. This is the armor made visible. It is the outer proof of an inner law. When you have trained your mind to rest in divine protection, even danger respects your composure. The fearful attract harm through expectation. The faithful repel it through certainty. There are two kinds of faith, the one of emergency and the one of discipline. The first cries for help when fear strikes. The second has already prepared. The man of disciplined faith does not wait for trouble to remember God. He remembers him before sunrise. He repeats his promises before the day demands them. Faith must be exercised to remain strong. You cannot lift the weight of adversity if you have not lifted the weight of daily meditation. Each morning's declaration strengthens the muscle of belief. Each night's gratitude reinforces it. To live without this training is to leave your soul unarmed. If I could command one daily ritual for every man, it would be this. Before touching the work of the world, put on your armor of thought. Read aloud your covenant of protection. Speak to your own subconscious as a captain to his troops. Today we march under faith, not fear. Today we command confidence, not confusion. Today we abide under the Almighty's shadow, where no evil may intrude. Do this, and your day will obey. The armor of faith is not something you carry. It is something you become. It fuses with your nature until courage replaces hesitation, clarity replaces chaos, and calm replaces reaction. You no longer pretend to be fearless. You are. Remember always that every fearful image is an invitation for doubt to enter. Refuse that invitation. When the world shows you danger, do not deny its existence, but deny its power over your peace. The fortress of faith does not remove storms, it renders them harmless. When you meet adversity, declare inwardly, my trust is my armor. My belief is my fortress. My thoughts are guarded by faith. Therefore, no fear can pierce them. Say it until the words feel like metal upon your spirit. This is how you forge protection that endures. The man who lives by this discipline finds that courage becomes instinct. He no longer debates whether to believe. Belief has become his reflex. Fear loses its authority because it no longer finds residence in him. And when others tremble, his calm becomes their counsel. His confidence becomes their example. His peace becomes their protection. That is the silent leadership of faith, the kind that guides without command, comforts without words, and protects without armor. Fearless living is not a miracle reserved for the few. It is the natural result of disciplined thinking, of faith practiced until it becomes second nature. Every day that you replace fear with trust, you are building a fortress that no storm can breach. So put on your armor each morning, not with effort, but with conviction. Let faith be your clothing, trust your shield, clarity your crown. You will find that life itself begins to honor you, for life obeys the man who believes. The man who wears this armor walks through uncertainty as though surrounded by light. His calm is his testimony, his peace, his protection, his faith, his constant defense. This is the law of the armor of thought, that no danger can reach a man who has already decided he cannot be harmed. To live without this armor is to walk bare in a world of storms. To live with it is to walk unharmed through every tempest. Choose your protection daily. Build it through repetition, polish it with gratitude, and guard it through belief. When fear approaches, smile, not in arrogance, but in remembrance. You will know then that it can no longer enter your heart, for faith has already sealed the gate. And when your day ends, rest not as one exhausted from battle, but as one victorious by peace. You have not fought, you have ruled, you have not resisted, you have believed, and belief once established becomes law. Fearless living is not an accident, it is a trained condition of mind. The man who masters his thought masters his protection. The one who believes constantly lives constantly in refuge. This is the armor of faith and thought, built daily, worn invisibly, and proven eternally. There is a promise woven into the heart of Psalm 91 that few men truly understand. He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. These words are not poetic comfort, they are law. They reveal the principle that every man who lives in faith awakens assistance unseen by the natural eye. No man who walks in alignment with divine law ever walks alone. You may call these helpers angels, or you may call them unseen forces, intuition, guidance, or providence. It matters little what name you choose. They are the same intelligence that has guided every great life from the beginning of time. They are the same invisible messengers that whispered ideas to Edison, courage to Lincoln, and perseverance to Ford. They stand ready to obey the command of the mind that is certain of its divine protection. Every act of faith awakens movement in this unseen world. Every declaration of trust sets these invisible powers in motion. The man who fears attracts confusion, but the man who believes draws harmony. It is not accident that things seem to work for some and not for others. The law is simple. The universe assists the mind that trusts its order. The angels of which the Psalm speaks are the intelligent forces of infinite mind, those unseen currents of good that arrange circumstances, guide thought, and open paths. They respond only to faith, for faith is the vibration of harmony with the divine. Fear creates static in that channel. Faith keeps it clear. The moment you think and feel with calm conviction, you summon cooperation from sources you do not yet see. I have known men who told me that when they trusted deeply, help seemed to appear from nowhere. One said that when his business was collapsing, an unexpected ally arrived to invest. Another said that in sickness, strength seemed to rise from within. Yet another spoke of an intuition that led him to safety, while others faltered. All described the same power under different names, the law of invisible assistance that answers the man of faith. When fear rules, intuition becomes blind. When faith rules, intuition becomes sight. This inner faculty is your communication line with infinite intelligence. It speaks through calmness, never through panic. The still, small voice is not silent. It is drowned out only by noise. Quiet your mind, and guidance will begin to whisper again. He shall give his angels charge over thee. These words reveal spiritual hierarchy. Infinite intelligence governs life through orderly law. That law delegates its operations through channels, through inspired ideas, through people, through circumstance. When you dwell in harmony with it, you step into that order, and it works for you. Imagine a river. The man of faith floats with its current. The man of fear swims against it. Both are in the same water, yet one moves easily while the other exhausts himself. So it is with divine assistance. It flows naturally toward him who trusts. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. The stones are the daily hindrances of life, the misunderstandings, the delays, the closed doors. When faith rules, you find yourself gently lifted above them. The obstacle that would have broken another becomes your step upward. Once a businessman told me he had narrowly avoided a terrible accident. He had planned to travel on a certain train, but that morning he felt an unexplainable urge to delay. He obeyed that impulse. Later, he learned the train had derailed. He said, "It was as if something warned me." I told him it was not something, it was law. He had become sensitive to the guidance that never sleeps, and that law preserved him because he listened. When you trust, you make yourself receptive to instruction. When you doubt, you jam the channel. Infinite intelligence cannot force its counsel upon you. It must be invited through faith. The mind at peace is the transmitter. The mind in fear is interference. Affirm within yourself, unseen helpers surround me. I am guided, guarded, and governed by divine law. Every step I take is secure. Speak it until you feel it, and you will begin to notice that your path grows smoother, your burdens lighter, your timing exact. Do not think these are coincidences. Coincidence is the name men give to the law they do not yet understand. Every seeming accident that leads you toward good is proof that invisible help is at work. The wise man does not call it luck, he calls it law. You must understand that these angels often appear in the form of men. The right counsel, the unexpected ally, the stranger who gives the needed word, these are all instruments through which infinite mind acts. To refuse their help is to reject the very aid you prayed for. Keep your heart open. Divine assistance seldom wears wings. When your mind radiates calm conviction, Others feel it. They may not know why they are drawn to aid you, but they will be. Faith attracts cooperation as naturally as gravity pulls the earth. Fear isolates, faith unites. The man of trust never lacks help, for his confidence creates fellowship wherever he goes. Consider Henry Ford. His engineers told him his design for the V8 engine was impossible. They resisted, doubted, delayed. Yet Ford remained calm. He said simply, "Produce it anyway." That unwavering faith drew new ideas, inspired minds, and rearranged impossibility into success. His belief summoned both visible and invisible assistance. It was not stubbornness. It was spiritual certainty that the law would yield to his purpose. So it is with every man who walks in fearless confidence. His very composure becomes command. Doors open before him because the universe itself bends to harmony. Fear creates friction. Faith creates alignment. You must learn to listen inwardly. That quiet impulse that urges you toward good, that sense of warning before error, that sudden inspiration that solves a problem, these are not random. They are the whispers of infinite mind through your own soul. Train yourself to hear them by stillness. Do not demand, receive. Do not rush, allow. The psalm says, "Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him." To set your love upon divine law means to trust it absolutely. When you live in this love, deliverance becomes automatic. Life itself becomes your protector because you are no longer in opposition to its rhythm. There is no safer place than harmony with divine order. You may walk through danger, but danger will not touch you. You may face uncertainty, but certainty will govern you. You may pass through darkness, but light will lead you step by step. The man of faith becomes a magnet for inspired ideas. He receives solutions before the problem matures, direction before confusion arises, strength before fatigue sets in. This is not miracle. It is cause and effect. The law of belief governs all things. Believe in protection, and protection obeys. You may have noticed that when you are fearful, even simple things go wrong. The tools slip, the words falter, the doors close. But when you are calm and confident, life arranges itself beautifully. The same world, the same tasks, yet a different result. What changed? Only your vibration. You aligned with the law that supports rather than resists. You are never alone. You have never been alone. The same intelligence that spins the planets attends to your smallest step. It waits only for your recognition. When you live in faith, you walk hand in hand with that unseen presence. When you doubt, you walk against it, and life feels heavier. A young man once said to me, "I do not know why, but since I began to trust, everything seems to work out." I told him, "You have entered into rhythm with infinite law. The angels of harmony now walk beside you." He smiled as though it were poetry, but it was truth. Infinite intelligence never withholds good. It only waits for the mind to stop resisting. Fear resists by expecting harm. Faith cooperates by expecting safety. The universe always matches your expectation. The law of invisible assistance is constant. Whether or not you are aware of it, it functions. The difference lies in awareness. The fearful man lives surrounded by helpers he cannot see. The faithful man walks consciously with them. Awareness turns chaos into order, danger into guidance, trial into triumph. Let this be your practice. Each morning, before you begin the work of the day, declare calmly, "I am protected and guided. All that I need is prepared before me. Invisible hands arrange my steps in order." Speak it, and then walk as though it were already done. For the moment you act as though it were true, the law confirms it. When you begin to live by this law, fear will lose its grip upon your imagination. You will sense a quiet strength around you, a peace that seems to precede your arrival. Others will comment that you are lucky, favored, blessed, but you will know it is not luck. It is the inevitable result of alignment with divine assistance. Remember always that your faith gives the angels charge. The command lies in your thought, not in your circumstance. You summon help by believing, not by pleading. The universe is not moved by desperation. It is moved by decision. And this is the essence of the law. Faith magnetizes help. Fear repels it. The fearless man never walks alone. His courage becomes signal to the heavens, and heaven always responds. So walk calmly, think clearly, trust fully. The same power that guards the stars guards you. The same intelligence that orders galaxies orders your path. The same love that sustains creation sustains your every step. You dwell in an ocean of protection, and faith is the sail that catches its wind. Repeat this truth daily. I am guided by unseen wisdom. I am protected by unseen power. I am surrounded by unseen strength. Nothing can befall me that is not for my highest good. Speak it until you know it. Know it until you feel it. Feel it until you live it. And once you live it, fear will flee, for it cannot abide where infinite mind abides. This is the law of invisible assistance, the unbroken promise that the man who trusts never walks alone. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Those words contain one of the greatest laws of life, that peace is not weakness, but power in perfect control. The wings of the Almighty are not soft sentiment. They are symbols of shelter, strength, and serenity. They teach that the highest defense is inner calm. To be fearless, one must learn the discipline of peace. There is no man so strong as the one who remains composed under pressure. The untrained mind reacts. The disciplined mind rules. Fear thrives on reaction, for it feeds on movement and noise. But when you become still within yourself, fear dies of starvation. Peace is the furnace where courage is forged. Every storm outside becomes powerless when silence takes command within. I once knew a man who faced the collapse of his business. His associates panicked, his friends deserted him, his creditors demanded answers. Yet he sat in silence and read Psalm 91 aloud each day. He repeated it until his heart believed more in protection than in peril. Days passed, and while others ran in circles, he waited. In that stillness came a single idea that restored his enterprise and multiplied it tenfold. Peace had given him access to wisdom that fear could never find. Fear rushes, faith waits. The mind in fear acts too quickly or not at all. The mind in faith acts only when guided by calm conviction. You must learn to pause before you decide, to breathe before you speak, to center your thought before you move. This is not delay. It is mastery. He who governs his inner temperature never boils in anger nor freezes in dread. I call this the law of inner temperature. Fear heats the mind into chaos. Faith cools it into clarity. The man of peace is like a calm sea reflecting the heavens. The man of panic is like a stormy wave that distorts every image of truth. When your mind is still, infinite intelligence reflects its perfect order through you. When your mind is troubled, divine wisdom is distorted and cannot reach you. Peace is trained, not found. It is developed by refusal to worry. You may think that you cannot help worrying, but that is not true. Worry is thought repeated without faith. Faith is thought repeated with trust. Both are habits. One destroys, the other restores. Each time you replace a worry with an affirmation, you strengthen peace as a habit. Say quietly to yourself, I walk in peace. I am covered by divine calm. No storm can disturb me, for my spirit abides in refuge. Speak it until you feel the tension release from your chest. Speak it until your breathing slows. Speak it until the world feels smaller and your soul feels larger. Then you will know that peace is not the absence of noise. It is authority over it. Consider Thomas Edison. When his great factory burned to the ground, others expected despair. Instead, he told his son, "Go fetch your mother. She'll never see another fire like this." He lost fortune that night, but not faith. The following morning he began again with calmness as his first tool. Within months, he had rebuilt everything greater than before. That is the discipline of peace, the refusal to let external ruin disturb inner order. Fear magnifies problems. Faith reduces them to proper size. To see clearly, you must remain steady. The archer hits the mark only when his hand is still. The mind hits truth only when it is calm. The moment you lose peace, you lose aim. The one who keeps composure holds dominion even in defeat. The world bows, often unwillingly, before the man it cannot shake. Peace is power at rest. It does not argue, yet it persuades. It does not shout, yet it is heard. It does not hurry, yet it always arrives on time. The quiet mind is more commanding than the loud voice, for true authority speaks from silence. The noisy soul may command attention. The peaceful soul commands respect. Remember the words, "His truth shall be thy shield and buckler." Truth is the knowledge that divine law governs all things. Truth is understanding that you are never outside of protection, never beyond guidance, never cut off from strength. To live in truth is to shield yourself from panic. When you know that the universe is orderly and just, fear cannot deceive you with its illusions. The man of peace sees through appearances. He knows that chaos is temporary, that difficulty is instruction, that delay is direction. He does not react to the first signal of trouble because he has trained himself to ask, what truth hides behind this? That question itself is strength, for it replaces reaction with reason. Every great soul you admire possessed this quality. Lincoln ruled himself before he ruled a nation. When voices of anger filled the land, he answered not with haste, but with measured wisdom. He listened to conscience before counsel, to stillness before strategy. That is why his words still breathe calm into restless generations. To cultivate this power, practice silence. Spend a few minutes each morning in deliberate quietness. Let the noise of the world fall away until you can hear the faint rhythm of peace within. In that stillness, affirm, "Infinite intelligence orders my path. I am safe, I am calm, I am certain." Do this daily, and your nerves will obey. Your heartbeat will slow. Your thought will clear. You will discover that peace can be practiced like a craft. And once mastered, it becomes your natural state. Peace multiplies power because it conserves energy. The frantic mind leaks strength through every worry. The peaceful mind stores it. A man at peace can accomplish in an hour what others cannot achieve in a day, for his whole force is united. To act from stillness is to act with all of yourself. No divided will, no wasted motion. Do not mistake excitement for energy. Fear disguises itself in both. True strength is quiet. The oak does not shout as it grows, yet its roots deepen daily. So too does faith. Your calmness is your growth, your patience, your proof. The psalmist wrote, "He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence." The snare is distraction. The pestilence is panic. Both lose power in the presence of peace. When you stop reacting to fear, it cannot entangle you. When you stop feeding it with thought, it perishes. Many men mistake motion for progress. They run but without direction. They talk but without purpose. They fight but without faith. The man of peace does not rush. He moves deliberately, guided by inner certainty. The crowd mistakes his quietness for passivity. Yet when the storm settles, he alone remains standing. Peace is the signature of strength. It is the calm hand that directs nations, the composed voice that settles conflict, the quiet faith that rebuilds empires. You must make it your goal to be such a man, to let nothing disturb the throne of your mind. Fear will test you. It will attempt to provoke reaction. It will whisper, "You must do something now, or all will be lost." Do not obey. Instead, breathe, remember, and say, "I am safe in divine order. Nothing urgent exists in eternity. I act from peace, not panic." In that instant, infinite mind can guide you, for you have returned to harmony. As you live this way, you will notice a transformation in how others respond to you. They will come to you in moments of crisis because they trust your composure. They will seek your advice, follow your lead, and draw strength from your stillness. That is the magnetic quality of peace. It commands without intention. Do not let the world convince you that you must join its anxiety to show that you care. True compassion comes not from sharing confusion, but from offering clarity. You help others most by remaining unshaken yourself. Their fear may be loud, but your silence will be louder. Peace is the discipline of masters. It is the mark of those who have conquered themselves. You cannot govern others until you have governed your emotions. You cannot lead nations until you have led your nerves. You cannot silence the storm without first silencing the mind that feeds it. So each day, practice peace as though it were the highest form of work, for it is. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, repeat truth until your heart feels anchored again. Let Psalm 91 become your daily meditation, your mental fortress, your gentle command to every trembling part of yourself. Then, when the winds of life rise, you will smile, not in denial, but in dominion. You will remember that peace is not the reward at the end of faith. It is the evidence of faith itself. It is the sign that you have entered the secret place where fear cannot breathe. The psalmist promised, "With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation." Long life belongs to the peaceful, for the nervous mind exhausts the body, while the calm mind renews it. Peace preserves vitality as surely as worry wastes it. The man of stillness lives longer, thinks clearer, and accomplishes more because his energy flows unbroken. And so I leave you this decree. I live in peace, and peace lives in me. I am governed by divine calm. My composure is my power. No fear can shake me, no storm can move me, no trouble can stay within me. Speak it each morning until your mind accepts it as nature. Then watch as the world, like a mirror, reflects back your inner serenity. For the one who practices peace holds dominion over every circumstance. His stillness is his strength, his calmness his crown, his silence his authority. He has learned the greatest secret of Psalm 91, that to abide under the shadow of the Almighty is to live above the reach of fear. The mind is the builder of all conditions. What it repeats, it believes. What it believes, it creates. The words of Psalm 91 are not poetry for comfort. They are instructions for formation. Each line is a pattern by which thought is trained to dwell in faith rather than fear. The man who repeats them with conviction builds a fortress stronger than stone, for habit is the architecture of destiny. The subconscious mind, that silent servant of your soul, does not argue or reason. It obeys. It accepts repeated impressions as commands and reproduces them as reality. When you declare daily, "I dwell in the secret place of the Most High," you are not reciting scripture, you are constructing belief. Every repetition deepens the groove of confidence until the mind can no longer think otherwise. Repetition is not ritual, it is reinforcement. Each spoken truth becomes a brick in the wall of your protection. The more you repeat, the higher the wall, the calmer the heart. Faith does not blossom in occasional sunlight, it grows by the steady warmth of constant thought. The man who trains his mind daily in the pattern of peace will find that fear cannot locate him. The psalmist knew this law. He spoke of abiding under the shadow of the Almighty, not visiting, not glancing, but dwelling. Dwelling means permanence. It means you no longer move between fear and faith, but have taken up residence in divine certainty. A soldier once told me that during war he recited Psalm 91 every morning. Bullets struck near him. Explosions filled the air, yet none touched him. Others called it miracle. He called it discipline. I said it until it felt truer than the sound of gunfire, he told me. When danger came, I could feel calm stand in front of me like a shield. That was no chance. That was law-obeying conviction. Faith repeated becomes fact. Doubt repeated becomes danger. You are always programming the machinery of your mind through what you say and think. Every declaration is a command to the subconscious, every fear a counterfeit prayer. When you recite truth often enough, emotion begins to join the words. Once emotion and word unite, belief is born, and belief manifests as experience. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. When this line becomes habitual thought, you cease to see yourself as victim and begin to see yourself as victor. The world may tremble, but you stand unmoved, not because trouble never comes, but because belief has made you larger than it. Repetition removes doubt the way sunrise removes shadows, gradually yet inevitably. Doubt fades not because it is conquered, but because it is replaced. The subconscious cannot hold two masters. The constant affirmation of safety, guidance, and divine order expels every trace of fear until peace becomes as natural as breathing. The process may seem mechanical at first. You may feel you are merely mouthing words. Do not stop. Habit is built not by feeling, but by persistence. As a stonecutter strikes the rock 100 times before it breaks, so does each repetition chip away at disbelief until it crumbles. Consider Andrew Carnegie. He built his fortune not from sudden luck, but from a daily habit of thought. Each morning he reviewed his purpose. Each night he reaffirmed his gratitude. The repetition of belief turned imagination into empire. You too must apply this law to faith as he applied it to fortune. Read Psalm 91, not as literature, but as a blueprint for mental mastery. Every day spent without repetition of truth is a day the mind drifts toward fear. Nature abhors a vacuum, so does thought. If you do not fill your mind with words of protection, it will fill itself with whispers of doubt. Therefore, let no morning pass without your declaration, and no night end without your gratitude. When you recite, feel. When you feel, believe. When you believe, act. And when you act, the law completes itself. Faith cannot remain theory. It must become habit. Speak it while you walk, while you work, while you rest. Let its rhythm become part of your heartbeat. Soon you will notice that fear visits less, peace lingers longer, and confidence becomes constant. Use this affirmation daily. Each morning I declare, I am protected, I am guided, I am fearless. Each repetition deepens truth. Each word strengthens armor. The subconscious will take these words as command and adjust every reaction to match them. You will find yourself calmer in crisis, wiser in decision, and steadier in storms. Repetition is the mother of mastery. The Psalm says, "He shall call upon me, and I will answer him." But calling is not a single cry. It is continual communion. The more you call, the clearer the line becomes. When faith is repeated, it forms a channel through which infinite intelligence flows without obstruction. I have seen timid men become towers of strength through this practice. One began reciting Psalm 91 over his family each morning. At first it was duty, later it became devotion. Months passed, and his entire household changed. Fear left, harmony entered, health improved. The words had built a vibration of faith so constant that even visitors felt peace upon entering their home. Repetition engraves. Just as drops of water carve stone through persistence, so do affirmations shape the mind into unshakable belief. The longer you dwell upon a truth, the more real it becomes to you, until outer life has no choice but to conform. For he shall give his angels charge over thee. Each time you repeat this, you renew awareness of divine cooperation. You remind the subconscious that help is assigned, that protection is continuous. These reminders awaken unseen allies who work silently in your favor. Let me caution you against idle speech. Words spoken in fear undo the work of faith. Each complaint is a stone removed from your fortress. Each worry uttered aloud is an invitation for doubt to return. Guard your language as you would guard treasure. Speak only that which strengthens belief. When emotion aligns with repetition, transformation begins. Speak your affirmations not as a beggar, but as a ruler issuing decree. Feel the weight of authority behind your words. Know that you are not asking for protection, you are acknowledging it. Say aloud, "Because I dwell in divine law, no harm can reach me. Because I live in faith, fear cannot live in me. Because I speak truth continually, truth surrounds me." Speak it slowly with certainty. Feel how the vibration of each word strengthens your mind. Persistence in this practice creates a new mental chemistry. Nerves calm, breathing deepens, decisions become clear. The body obeys the command of the mind, and the mind obeys the rhythm of belief. Peace becomes physiological. Confidence becomes visible. Others will notice before you do. They will remark upon your steadiness, your ease, your subtle power. They will feel safe in your company. They will not know why, but you will. You have become a living extension of Psalm 91, a demonstration of divine security in motion. Habit is the sculptor of destiny. What you repeat today, you will become tomorrow. Repeat faith long enough, and faith will think through you, speak through you, act through you. The psalm is not meant for reading only. It is meant for embodiment. In time, you will find that your repetition changes not just your thought, but your environment. Problems will resolve before they mature. People of faith will be drawn to you. Opportunities will unfold naturally. You will become as calm as water that reflects the sky, still, clear, and powerful. Each day you declare truth. You raise the standard of your inner kingdom. Fear will come less as a storm and more as a shadow, powerless to harm. Your subconscious will begin to reject doubt automatically, the way a healthy body rejects disease. That is when you will know you have trained your mind into divine habit. So let this be your daily practice. Upon waking, before touching the concerns of the world, close your eyes and speak the psalm, not to remember words, but to remember who you are. Repeat it, not to plead for safety, but to reaffirm your authority. You are the dwelling place of faith, the vessel of peace, the fortress of divine law. Each repetition of truth strengthens this awareness until you live as its embodiment. And when others ask you how you remain calm while the world shakes, you will answer with simplicity, "Because I have built my dwelling in faith, and I repeat it until nothing else remains." This is the law of repetition and spiritual habit, that faith becomes permanent only through persistence, and that the man who repeats truth daily will one day awaken to find that truth repeating itself through him. "Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder. The young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet." This single verse reveals one of the highest spiritual secrets known to man, that you are not merely protected from fear, you are given authority over it. The psalm does not end with safety. It ascends to sovereignty. It teaches that true fearlessness is not the absence of danger, but the mastery of it. Every man is born with dominion written in his soul. He was made to command, not to cower, to govern, not to grovel, to stand upright as the reflection of divine mind, not to crawl beneath its creation. But fear dethrones that birthright. It convinces man to believe he is subject to forces he was created to rule. Psalm 91 restores him to the throne of his own thought. When you read that you will tread upon the lion and the adder, you are reading a symbol. The lion is the loud fear, the roaring threat that makes itself known through crisis. The adder is the silent fear, the subtle poison that seeps through worry, doubt, or delay. The man who abides in faith walks over both. He silences the roar and neutralizes the venom through calm command. Fear loses its power the moment it is faced by faith. It thrives on avoidance. It grows in the shadows of hesitation. But the instant you turn toward it with decision, it dissolves. Dominion is the law that allows no enemy to remain unchallenged within the mind. Speak to your fears as a king speaks to rebels, calmly, decisively, without emotion. Say, "You have no authority here. This mind is under divine government." Faith-filled words are decrees in the unseen world. They carry vibration that reshapes circumstance. When you speak with conviction, you summon every invisible force of good to your side. The timid man pleads, the fearless man commands. The difference lies not in arrogance, but in awareness of law. He knows that infinite intelligence responds to decisiveness, not to doubt. When David stood before Goliath, he carried no armor, no army, only conviction. His declaration was his weapon. "This day the Lord will deliver thee into mine hand." His words were not request, they were decree. That decree, backed by faith, brought down what others feared. This is the same power Psalm 91 grants to you, the authority to declare victory before the battle. The man who exercises dominion does not deny danger. He looks directly at it and says, "You are subject to law, and I am one with law." That awareness disarms every threat, because the external cannot rule where the internal refuses to yield. When you learn to govern your mind, life begins to obey you. The storm may still rage, but its direction changes. The forces that once opposed you now assist you. Fear transforms into instruction, pain into purification, obstacles into stepping stones. Dominion does not remove challenge, it converts it into service. Repeat this truth daily. I tread upon all fear. It cannot rule me. I live under divine authority. My spirit commands. My world obeys. Speak it slowly until your heart feels the weight of its meaning. You are not the hunted. You are the master. You are not the servant of circumstance. You are its architect through faith. You must understand this law deeply. Fear has no existence of its own. It borrows life from your attention. Withdraw that attention, and it perishes. Focus on faith, and it flourishes. Dominion begins when you choose the object of your attention. The man without purpose is prey to fear. He drifts between indecision and regret, between what he might do and what he has not done. But the man of purpose is immune to paralysis, for every thought marches in a single direction. Purpose is armor. Decision is sword. When you know your mission, fear has no foothold. There is no space in a focused mind for trembling. Henry Ford proved this law in his lifetime. When banks refused him, when engineers opposed him, when failure seemed certain, he did not retreat. He said, "The thing is possible and will be done." He spoke as one with dominion, and the invisible law responded. The engine that was impossible became the foundation of an empire. Faith acted as command, and command produced cooperation. Your words are not mere sounds. They are seeds of reality. Every time you speak with conviction, you are planting instructions in the soil of infinite mind. Speak defeat, and life obeys. Speak dominion, and life conforms. The difference between the weak and the mighty lies not in circumstance, but in speech born of belief. Remember always that dominion is exercised through love, not pride. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. Love of divine law is the highest form of power. It purifies your motives and perfects your command. Fear and love cannot coexist, for one contracts while the other expands. When you act in love, you rise above every vibration of fear. Dominion is not loudness, it is quiet certainty. The man who truly knows his power does not boast, he simply acts. The world senses his authority without hearing his words. His presence brings order. His composure disarms conflict. This is the silent influence of mastery. Say within yourself, I am calm under divine rule. My thought is law to my world. My faith governs my fate. No force can prevail against the power of peace within me. As you repeat it, you will notice a stillness rise, a quiet awareness that you need not struggle to be safe. You need only remember who commands your life. Dominion grows stronger with each test. Every time fear appears and you respond with faith, your authority deepens. Soon fear will cease to test you, for it learns quickly who cannot be moved. Like a defeated adversary, it bows before the one who no longer yields to suggestion. Observe how the fearless man is perceived by others. They trust him without analysis. They follow his direction without question. His steadiness becomes a compass to the uncertain. The nervous seek his presence because he radiates order. Such power cannot be faked. It is born of inner government. The man of dominion governs his reactions. He decides how he shall feel before the world decides for him. He trains his mind to remain at peace in noise, to remain certain in confusion, to remain loving in hostility. This is not suppression. It is supremacy. The emotions are his subjects, not his masters. When you live this way, fear ceases to exist in its old form. It becomes signal rather than master. It warns, but it does not wound. It instructs, but it does not imprison. Dominion turns fear into servant. It reminds you to return to faith, to step again into authority. There will come a day when you meet what once terrified you and feel no tremor. That moment will mark your coronation, the day you reclaim the throne of your mind. You will look back upon your old fears and smile, realizing they were shadows cast by your own forgetting. They had no life except what you lent them. This is why the psalm ends in victory. Because he hath known my name, I will set him on high. To know the name of God is to know the nature of power itself, the unshakable law of protection and provision. When you align with it, you rise beyond reach of ordinary fear. Life begins to treat you as one of its rulers, not its refugees. Let this affirmation be your decree. I am not the hunted of fear. I am the master of faith. I rule my thoughts, my words, and my destiny. Divine authority governs my life, and nothing contrary can stand before it. Speak it until your voice grows calm and commanding, for calmness is the tone of authority. Dominion over fear is dominion over life. Every challenge you master expands your realm. Each victory of peace enlarges your kingdom. And soon you will see that what you call your world is simply the reflection of your ruled thoughts. Bring order within, and order will appear without. Psalm 91 is the training ground for this mastery. It begins with dwelling, proceeds through faith, matures through repetition, and culminates in rule. The man who lives by its truth becomes king over his circumstances. His faith does not wait for safety. It creates it. His peace does not depend on silence. It commands it. You were not born to crawl beneath your fears. You were born to walk above them. You were not designed to seek refuge forever. You were designed to become the refuge for others. Dominion means you now carry the atmosphere of safety wherever you go. Others will feel it and find courage in your presence. They will sense that fear cannot dwell where you dwell. This is divine dominion, the law by which man rises from subject to sovereign, from victim to victor, from seeker of safety to source of peace. Live it daily. Speak it boldly. Rule your thoughts, and life will bow in perfect order before you. When the psalmist wrote, "He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation." He was not describing poetry. He was describing partnership. Psalm 91 is not a verse. It is a covenant. It is the invisible contract between man and divine law, between faith and its fulfillment, between belief and the peace that belief commands. The covenant of fearless living is sealed not by ritual, but by remembrance. Each morning that you awaken and remember that you dwell under divine law, you renew it. Each time you meet fear with faith, you confirm it. Each moment you speak truth instead of trembling, you fulfill it. Fear cannot exist in a consciousness that remembers its divine agreement with power. The man who understands this covenant no longer lives as a beggar of blessings. He lives as heir of divine protection. He no longer asks, "Will I be safe?" He affirms, "I am safe now." He no longer prays for strength. He remembers that he is strength in expression. He does not seek courage as if it were lost. He realizes that courage is his natural condition when aligned with the Most High. Each day, you renew your covenant through awareness. Awareness is the altar where faith and action meet. When you remember that infinite intelligence moves through you, life begins to move for you. This remembrance transforms fear into reverence, worry into worship, and survival into mastery. The psalm says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Dwelling is not visiting. To dwell means to live there permanently, to make divine consciousness your home. The man who abides there is not shaken by outer winds, because he has found the center that never moves. Imagine beginning every morning with this awareness. You rise not as a man facing trouble, but as a man escorted by strength. You step into your day knowing that infinite mind has already ordered your path. You speak with authority because you know you are backed by law. The world around you may be uncertain, but within, your spirit is steady as stone. This state of being cannot be faked. It radiates from within. When others look upon such a man, they see calmness, but they feel something deeper, an atmosphere of assurance that cannot be explained. They find themselves standing straighter, speaking clearer, trusting more. That is the silent testimony of one who lives in covenant with faith. Abraham Lincoln lived this way. During the darkest days of war, he read Psalm 91 nightly. His advisors described his patience as superhuman, his calm as supernatural. Yet it was neither. It was divine alignment practiced daily. He knew the law: when man abides in faith, God abides in man. The result is composure that confounds chaos. Fearless living does not mean the absence of danger. It means the presence of divine consciousness stronger than danger. The waves may rise, but you rise higher. The noise may grow, but your silence deepens. The pressure may increase, but your calm expands to contain it. The psalmist does not promise escape from life. He promises mastery within it. You may think this level of peace unattainable, but you have already tasted it in moments when you forgot to fear, when you acted from pure faith, when you trusted without hesitation, when you felt that unseen hand guiding you. The covenant calls you to make that moment your dwelling, not your exception. Repeat this affirmation each morning. I dwell in divine safety. My peace protects me. My faith guides me. My life reveals the strength of God's covenant. Speak it until the words feel like your own breath. Speak it until they stop sounding like prayer and begin sounding like truth. Understand that this covenant demands participation. Protection is not passive. It is active alignment. You cannot expect to dwell in the fortress while entertaining the enemies of fear and doubt. You must guard the gates of your thought. No uninvited worry may enter. No whisper of weakness may linger. This is your discipline and your devotion. The reward of such discipline is not only safety, but transformation. The man who lives in fearless faith becomes a different creature altogether. His eyes carry calm fire. His voice carries quiet authority. His presence carries healing. He walks through the same world as others, but lives in a higher vibration of law. The world calls him lucky, but luck is simply the name men give to the results of faith they cannot explain. They will say, everything seems to work out for him, not realizing that everything must, because he has ceased to resist the order of the universe. He lives in cooperation with divine intelligence, and divine intelligence never fails its own laws. Through this covenant, even health is renewed. The body mirrors the peace of the mind. The nervous system, once ruled by fear, begins to obey faith. Strength returns to the limbs. Calm returns to the heartbeat. Clarity returns to the eyes. The Scripture's promise of long life is not myth. It is physiology. Fear shortens life through strain. Peace extends it through harmony. The covenant also transforms your influence. People feel safe around the fearless. They are drawn to your steadiness like travelers to a lighthouse. They will confide in you, follow your counsel, and find courage through your composure. You become, without effort, a living embodiment of divine protection, a reminder to others of what they too can become. The psalmist's final words, "With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation," signify not just years but fulfillment. To live long is nothing. To live fulfilled is everything. Satisfaction means to dwell in peace regardless of circumstance, to feel completeness in the knowledge that you are one with infinite mind. Salvation is not escape, it is awareness. It is the realization that you were never unprotected, never unloved, never alone. This covenant requires renewal each day, for the world will tempt you to forget. News will shout danger, people will project fear, circumstances will test your resolve, but the man who lives in covenant replies with calm decree, "Though 1,000 fall at my side, it shall not come nigh me. I dwell in the secret place, and nothing can disturb my peace." That decree is not defiance, it is remembrance. It is your daily signature upon the contract of fearlessness. And the more you sign it, the more life upholds it. Infinite law never breaks agreement with the faithful. Now let us gather the full teaching of this psalm. It begins with shelter, "He that dwelleth in the secret place." It moves to trust, "My God, in him will I trust." It builds to assurance, "Thou shalt not be afraid." It expands to assistance, "He shall give his angels charge over thee." It ascends to authority, "Thou shalt not be afraid, shalt tread upon the lion and adder." And it culminates in partnership, "He shall call upon me, and I will answer him." This is the full circle of divine living, from fear to faith, from faith to dominion, from dominion to union. When a man walks this circle, his life becomes a testimony. He ceases to speak of faith and begins to live it. He no longer quotes protection, he radiates it. His every act becomes affirmation, his every silence a declaration of peace. Fear no longer recognizes him, for he no longer recognizes fear. At last he realizes that the secret place of the Most High was never a distant refuge. It was his own consciousness, purified of fear and filled with faith. The Almighty was never outside guarding him. The Almighty was within governing him. That awareness is salvation. That realization is immortality. So as you rise each morning, let this covenant be your first thought and your final word. "Because I dwell in the secret place of the Most High, I shall fear no evil. My faith is my fortress, my words my command, my peace my power. Infinite intelligence lives in me, moves through me, and guards me in all my ways." Repeat it until your soul vibrates with its truth. Then walk forth as the fearless heir of divine promise. Let others see through your calmness that faith is not theory but law. Let them feel through your serenity that protection is not wishful thinking but spiritual science. Let your life become the sermon no words can rival. For this is the covenant of fearless living, that the man who remembers his oneness with infinite mind cannot be harmed, cannot be moved, cannot be broken. He is peace in motion, law in form, faith made flesh. And as he lives, so too does the promise live within him, fulfilled, complete, eternal. Final decree: I live under the shadow of the Almighty. I fear nothing, I doubt nothing. I am governed by faith, strengthened by peace, and crowned with divine authority. I am protected by the covenant of fearless living, now and forevermore. You were not born to suffer through life. You were not created to scramble for pennies, to beg for attention, to walk the earth in quiet confusion, wondering why abundance always seems to belong to someone else. You were created to prosper. But let me be clear from the beginning. Not all men will, not because God made them less, but because they refuse to obey the law of increase. They reject the very principles that would make them rich, fulfilled, powerful, and useful. I have seen men cry out for miracles while breaking every law that miracles obey. I have seen men curse heaven for their poverty while spending their lives in drift, disobedience, and mental laziness. I have seen men shake their fists at God, asking why life is so unfair, while refusing to take command of the power they were given at birth. Let me ask you, will you be one of them? If you are waiting for permission to prosper, this is it. If you are waiting for a sign to step into your power, this is it. If you are searching for a reason to believe again, this message is it. But I warn you, if you ignore what follows, if you treat this as mere motivation, if you go back to your familiar excuses, fears, and comfort, you will suffer the consequences. Not by my hand, not even by the hand of God, but by the fixed, unchanging law that governs every man's increase or decline. Let me tell you the story of a man I once knew. He was intelligent, talented. Everyone believed he had a future full of greatness, but he waited, always waited. Said he was preying on it, said he was waiting for the right season, said he was letting God open the door, and so he sat. 10 years passed. His fire dimmed, his health declined, his family looked elsewhere for leadership. The man who could have built empires became a whisper, not because he lacked favor, but because he lacked decision. I tell you this now, God gives potential, but it is the man who must obey. On the other hand, I once met a poor boy in Pennsylvania who believed the words of an old book that said, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." And though he had no education, no inheritance, and no special advantages, he worked with intensity, studied daily, read every success principle he could get his hands on, and applied them without apology. He later became known as Andrew Carnegie. You see the difference? It was not chance. It was not accident. It was not fate. It was obedience. That is what this message is about. Not just prosperity, but divine alignment. Not just riches, but the right to riches, earned by faith, obedience, definite purpose, and useful service. If you listen, truly listen, you will leave this moment with a spiritual blueprint for prosperity that no man, no economy, and no devil can take from you. You will walk forward with command, with purpose, with law in your mind and faith in your blood. But if you ignore this, if you drift, delay, argue, or rationalize, you will fall victim to the silent curse that destroys more men than war. A life half lived, a potential never realized, a soul that looked like it was waiting on God when God was waiting on you. Say this now: I was created to prosper, and I will obey the law that makes it so. I refuse to live beneath the calling of my own design. I walk in decision, and I expect divine increase. Now sit up straight. Wipe the sleep from your soul. This is not inspiration. This is instruction. These are not ideas. These are laws. They do not care how you feel. They respond only to how you act. You were created to prosper, but the gates will not open themselves. You must now decide. Will you walk the divine path or wander into regret? The next part begins the journey. Walk with me. You were not born to struggle. You were born to prosper. That is the truth the world will never teach you, and yet it is the only truth worth building a life upon. You were created by infinite intelligence, not to beg, not to drift, not to wonder, but to create, to command, and to expand. Every soul is born with a divine imprint of abundance, but not all activate it. Not all obey the laws that unlock it. They live in lack, not because they must, but because they refuse to believe the first law of prosperity, that they were made by a creator who intends for them to increase. Most men do not live in poverty because they are lazy. They live in poverty because they are ignorant of law. They are blind to the invisible principles that govern increase. They believe in luck, in favoritism, in fate, but not in divine law. And so they drift decade after decade, never claiming what is already theirs. Say this aloud: God created me to prosper in thought, in deed, in riches, and in purpose. Say it with conviction. Say it until your blood believes it, because if you do not say it, the world will tell you otherwise. And if you do not claim it, you will never hold it. Infinite intelligence does not create accidents. There is not one tree, one star, one mountain, or one heartbeat in this universe that exists without intention. So tell me, do you think you were created to be the exception? You were made with precision for a purpose, and that purpose includes prosperity. Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men in history, did not choose men based on credentials or appearance. He sought those with definiteness of purpose, belief in their own ability, and a willingness to work under divine law. He did not ask if they were lucky. He asked if they were committed. You must now accept that prosperity is not luck, it is law. Just as gravity pulls objects downward, so does obedience to divine principle pull prosperity into your life. And just as you would not jump from a building expecting to float, you must not disobey spiritual law and expect to rise. Prosperity is God's natural order. Everywhere you look, abundance, forests that multiply, oceans that overflow, life that renews itself daily. Why would man be the only creature sentenced to poverty? He is not. He is the only creature capable of choosing it. God's plan is always one of increase, spiritually, mentally, financially, emotionally. Every law points toward expansion, but it is man's belief, or lack of belief, that either opens or closes the flow. No man receives more than he is willing to accept. To deny your calling to prosper is to resist God himself. It is to reject the hand that created you. It is to live beneath your purpose and die with your song unsung. And I tell you now, that is not humility. That is rebellion disguised as modesty. You were created with power, but that power must be activated. Power unused is power lost, and power denied is potential aborted. Say it again. I was created to prosper. And now say, and I will no longer resist what God has ordained for me. This is not a message of greed. It is a message of obedience. Obedience to the law of cause and effect. Obedience to the law of definite purpose. Obedience to the command that says, be fruitful, multiply, and take dominion. If you believe that God is glorified by your weakness, you do not understand him. God is glorified when a man walks in purpose, when a man provides for his family, when a man gives more than he receives, when a man turns talent into service and service into wealth and wealth into good. There is no spiritual virtue in lack. There is no holiness in fear. There is no divine applause for the man who hides his gift beneath the soil of indecision. The only reward for the unfaithful steward is loss. And the only reward for drift is regret. Look around you. Every structure built by man began first in the mind, and every mind was given by God. So I ask you, what will you do with yours? Will you use it to complain or to command? Will you shrink from greatness or rise into the call? Do not mistake trials for curses. Life will test you, but never to destroy you, only to prepare you, only to strengthen the vessel that must carry the treasure. The diamonds of destiny are hidden in the mines of discipline and obedience. Today begins your awakening. From this moment forward, you no longer seek prosperity. You realize it has been seeking you, but it waits for your obedience. It waits for your belief. It waits for your decision. You were created to prosper, and the only thing left standing between you and the life ordained for you is your refusal to accept that truth as law. No more, no delay, no apology, no drifting. Now say it with finality. I am the man who obeys divine law. I am the man who walks with purpose. I am the man who will prosper because I was created to do so. Poverty of the soul begins not with empty pockets, but with misalignment. The man who is poor in spirit, in belief, in discipline, and in purpose is already walking in rebellion against the very laws that would make him great. And worst of all, he often does not know it. Men assume that rebellion looks like violence or crime. No, rebellion often looks like silence, delay, excuse, avoidance. It wears the mask of playing it safe. But underneath it, the truth is visible. The man is resisting the divine will for his increase. Infinite intelligence governs all things by fixed law, not favoritism, not chaos, not coincidence. You are either in harmony with that law or in conflict with it. And the measure of your prosperity, inner and outer, tells you which one it is. You do not have to be judged by man to suffer. When you drift, you are judged by consequence. Obedience to the law brings increase. Disobedience brings decline. This is not punishment. It is precision. This is not cruelty. It is cause and effect. Say now, I bring my life into harmony with divine increase. And speak it until your habits follow. Speak it until your thoughts match it. Speak it until it becomes your daily creed. Because nothing multiplies faster than a man aligned with spiritual law. Henry Ford was not the most educated man of his time, nor the most polished, but he obeyed the law of useful service, of innovation, of persistence. And the result? The world rearranged itself around his vision. He did not wait for favor. He activated it through law. You must break this lie once and for all, that God is glorified by poverty, that he smiles upon your limitation, that he honors your fear. This belief has crippled generations. God is glorified by your obedience, your productivity, your service, and your dominion. The laws of prosperity are not hidden. They are available to every man. Desire, faith, action, planning, persistence. Ignore them, and you suffer. Obey them, and you rise. There is no middle ground. There is only decision or drift. Drift is unconscious rebellion. It is the refusal to think, to plan, to act, to believe. It is the quiet sin of passivity, dressed in polite manners and spiritual-sounding words. And it is more deadly than failure because it pretends to be safe. The man who drifts may go to work. He may attend church. He may smile at his neighbor. But inside he is wandering. He lives without vision, without urgency, without faith. And his life, however polite, is rebellion in disguise. If your days are consumed by reaction and not creation, you are not aligned. If your thoughts are filled with fear, doubt, and gossip, you are not aligned. If your actions are vague, scattered, and delayed, you are not aligned. Command this now. I return my life to order. I align my habits with the law of success. I obey God by structuring my mind, disciplining my days, and deciding with finality. Because the man who cooperates with divine law becomes a magnet. His thoughts attract provision. His actions pull results. His spirit glows with fire. He does not chase opportunity. Opportunity seeks him out. The world becomes your servant when you become a servant of law, not the law of man, the law of growth, the law of discipline, the law of faith, the law of definite purpose. These are eternal. These are divine. These are the source of all sustainable wealth. Do not wait for miracles. The laws that produce miracles are already in your possession. But laws require application. A man who owns a seed but never plants it has no right to complain of hunger. And a man who hears truth but refuses to act has no right to cry for more. You are not suffering from lack. You are suffering from misalignment. You are not cursed. You are disconnected. The signal has not changed. Your receiver is filled with noise, and now you must clean it. Now you must tune in. Return to structure. Rise early. Read with purpose. Speak your chief aim. Write your plan. Guard your tongue. Sow service. And do it daily, without fail, without flare, without permission. The man who seeks to rise without order is a man who mocks divine design. Look at nature. Every season flows in sequence. Every river follows a path. Every sunrise comes with precision. And yet man, who is given choice, refuses structure and then curses God for his confusion. You were given the gift of freedom, but freedom without obedience is destruction. Freedom is not the absence of law. It is the power to choose which law you will obey. Choose now, the law of drift or the law of destiny, the law of fear, the law of faith, the law of confusion or the law of clarity, the law of decline or the law of divine increase. Affirm it with strength. From this moment I obey divine law. I organize my days. I discipline my thoughts. I speak only what builds. I believe only what aligns. I live as one worthy of increase. The rebellious man pretends to be humble, but the obedient man proves himself by fruit, and fruit does not lie. It speaks loudly, publicly, without apology. Either your life produces it or it doesn't. You are not being punished. You are being warned, not by fear, but by truth. There is still time, but not much. You are either building alignment or drifting into regret. This message is not to shame you. It is to awaken you, to show you that prosperity is already within reach, but only if you walk in law, only if you submit your ego, only if you rise in obedience. God will not beg you to obey. The law will not bend to your emotions. The path is marked, the truth is written, and the decision is now yours. Will you walk in harmony or continue in rebellion? Choose now. Choose boldly. And the world will make room for the man who walks with God. No man ever received lasting prosperity by accident, and no man ever attracted sustained wealth while drifting. Prosperity comes to the man who is definite in purpose. It is the man who knows what he wants, who speaks it with fire, and moves toward it with discipline. He is the one God entrusts with increase. Definiteness of purpose is not just a success principle. It is a spiritual agreement. When you declare your purpose with clarity and intention, you enter into covenant with infinite intelligence. You signal to all of life that you are ready to command, ready to build, and ready to be held responsible. A man without a chief aim is like a ship without a rudder. He may drift for years and mistake movement for progress, but he arrives nowhere because he aimed nowhere. The world does not reward motion, it rewards direction. Say this now with conviction. I know what I want. I know what I will give to get it. I will persist until I possess it. Speak it until it burns. Speak it until it rewrites your subconscious mind. Because without definiteness, you are not a man. You are a shadow. God does not reward vague wishers. He rewards definite thinkers. He rewards the man who has thought through his vision, planned his steps, committed his will, and has staked his soul on fulfilling his purpose, no matter what. Charles M. Schwab was not the most technically gifted man in Andrew Carnegie's empire, but he rose higher than all the others. Why? Because he had clarity of aim, strength of conviction, and the ability to communicate vision. He was indispensable because he was definite. Prosperity begins where your vague hopes end. It begins the moment you decide, once and for all, what you will build, who you will serve, and what price you are willing to pay to manifest that decision into reality. Let us tie this to ancient instruction. Write the vision, make it plain that he may run who reads it. You are not meant to wander in confusion. You are meant to run in purpose. But the man who never writes his vision cannot walk in its power. Purpose is not a business plan. It is a sacred vow. It is a decision made between you and infinite intelligence, a line drawn in the sand of time that says, this is the life I will build, this is the service I will give, and this is the man I will become. You must choose now, and not weakly, not conditionally, not if it works. You must choose with finality. Decision sharpens the soul like steel sharpens the blade. Without it, your power leaks, your confidence shrinks, and the world ignores you. Take a blank page. Write at the top, my definite chief aim, and beneath it describe the future you are building, the wealth you will attract, the people you will serve, and the man you must become. And make it specific, vivid, measurable, emotional, divine. Then post it on your mirror. Speak it aloud every morning. Speak it again before you sleep. Speak it even when doubt whispers. Speak it when delay tempts. Speak it when nothing seems to move. Speak it until it becomes real. Your subconscious mind must be commanded, not entertained. It must be directed with certainty, not suggestions. And every day you read and speak your purpose, you are engraving it into the very soil of your destiny. To move without purpose is to delay the prosperity God already prepared for you. It is not that your blessings do not exist, it is that you have failed to give them a place to arrive. The airplane of your dream cannot land on the runway of confusion. Let me speak plainly. If you do not choose your aim, life will choose it for you. And life does not reward the man who drifts. It uses him. It tosses him between circumstances. It exhausts him. And when he is old, it leaves him wondering what could have been. But the man of purpose, he stands firm. He bends time. He multiplies energy. He makes the very air around him electric with decision. He speaks and others listen. He walks and doors open, because nature itself obeys the man who obeys his aim. This is the dividing line between failure and fulfillment. It is not talent. It is not fortune. It is not education. It is definiteness of purpose, backed by unshakable faith and daily organized effort. Say now, I choose my purpose with finality. I write it. I speak it. I obey it. And I will never return to the drifting life again. Your purpose is not small. Your purpose is not ordinary. It was assigned to you by infinite intelligence, and it is your sacred duty to fulfill it with honor. Do not compare it. Do not delay it. Do not apologize for it. Live it. Every moment you hesitate, a weaker version of you survives. But every moment you act in purpose, a greater version of you rises. Let this be the moment that divides the man you were from the man you were born to become. The world is not waiting for more drifters. It is starving for men of purpose, men who walk into a room and bring vision, men who speak and shake mountains, men who wake up knowing exactly what must be done and do it. You can be that man. You were designed to be that man, but you must now decide. Decide with finality, and then act relentlessly, because until you do, all the faith, all the law, all the opportunity in the world will sit silently by, waiting for you to speak your first command. So speak it, write it, obey it, and let your life be the loudest declaration of divine purpose the world has ever seen. Faith is not a soft thing. It is not a whisper or a wish. It is power. It is fire. It is the currency of creation, and the man who possesses it can walk through storms, tear down delay, and summon invisible forces to his aid. Faith is not a feeling. It is a spiritual command. You must now understand God does not respond to doubt. He does not reward hesitation. He does not move on behalf of a man who questions his own worth. But when he hears faith, real, unshakable, spoken as fact faith, then the heavens answer. Faith is not saying, I believe once on Sunday and hoping things will change. Faith is speaking your definite chief aim aloud daily, vividly, persistently, and with emotion. It is visualizing your desire as though it were already completed. Say this now. I speak as if it is done. I walk as if it is mine. I think as one who already has it. These are not empty affirmations. These are commands to the subconscious, written in the divine tongue of repetition and emotion. Look to Edison. When the world laughed, when science mocked, when results delayed, he pressed forward. Over 1,000 failures, and still he said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Why? Because he had faith. He saw the light before the bulb ever burned. He believed the outcome before the evidence appeared. And because of that belief, because of that persistence born from faith, he bent the world to his vision. That is the power of true faith. Let me break the illusion. Wishing is not faith. Hope is not faith. Prayer without belief is not faith. Faith is made of thought, word, decision, and action, bound together by repetition and emotional intensity. Without that, your belief has no root. Every time you speak your chief aim aloud with feeling, you are watering that root. You are planting divine instruction into the soil of your mind. And what grows in the mind will always show in your life. Always. You must now make autosuggestion your servant. Autosuggestion is the act of feeding your subconscious the words and visions of faith until they take root and become law. Repeat it daily. Repeat it emotionally. Repeat it with purpose. Say aloud, I do not beg, I declare. I do not hope, I believe. I do not wait, I prepare. Because the man who prepares before the evidence arrives is the man who knows he will soon possess it. Do you see now? Doubt is not simply human weakness, it is spiritual disobedience. To doubt the promise of your prosperity is to accuse infinite intelligence of failure. It is to say, God, I do not trust the law you built into my soul. And fear? Fear is nothing but faith in evil. It is a decision to believe in decline instead of increase, to believe in failure instead of favor. And the man who fears does not lack information. He lacks obedience to divine truth. You must choose daily. You must say, I will no longer serve fear. I will no longer obey doubt. I will no longer lend my mind to thoughts that betray my future. This is not suggestion. This is command. Faith is built by what you say and what you do. If your words are strong but your actions are weak, your faith will wither. But if your speech matches your walk, if your thoughts match your rituals, then your faith will become a mighty structure. Speak your aim aloud every morning, every night. Write it, picture it, feel it. Let the mind soak in its reality until it begins to attract its own kind, ideas, people, opportunity, favor. And when nothing seems to happen, believe harder. Because delay is not denial. The seed does not sprout because you stare at it. It sprouts because you water it in faith and give it time to rise. Tell yourself, the results are catching up to my belief. Tell yourself, every word I speak is creating a future I will soon walk into. Tell yourself, I do not require proof to believe, I require belief to create proof. When your mind believes, the universe obeys, not because you are magical, but because you are finally aligned with the law that commands results. That law is faith. It is the law that built every fortune, raised every leader, and transformed every life that once looked hopeless. Faith is the gold standard of heaven and earth, and you must earn it, not with coin, but with conviction. So I ask you now, will you repeat your aim today as if it were fact? Will you walk today as if the outcome were guaranteed? Will you speak today not as one asking for permission, but as one sent on assignment? If you will, then I say unto you, your future is already secured. Your path is already cleared, and the provision you seek has already been prepared, because you have chosen to believe. Say it one more time, slowly, with power. I am the man who gets what he believes. I see it, I speak it, I receive it. Faith is my native tongue, and I will not be silent. Then get up and live like it. You will never be blessed with lasting prosperity by the mere wishing for it, nor by the clamor of the crowd demanding it. Prosperity is earned. It is drawn to the man or woman who renders useful service above what is expected, in the spirit of faith and definiteness of purpose. Let me now show you the exact law by which prosperity obeys the hand of service. The richest men in the world were not made rich by accident, nor inheritance alone, but by the organized, persistent rendering of more service than they were paid for. That is the eternal secret. Carnegie, who began with no fortune and no friends, offered more value than he asked for, and the law of increasing returns gave him more in return than he ever expected. There is a divine law that governs compensation. The more you give with definiteness, joy, and excellence, the more will return to you multiplied. But if you wait to be paid first, if you render service with resentment or only the minimum effort, you have already written your failure. There is no escaping the law of seed and harvest. You sow poor seed, you reap a poor harvest. Henry Ford understood this law better than any of his competitors. While they raised their prices and cut wages, he reversed the system. He paid his workers more, offered the public more for less, and built a machine of service so vast it carried him to wealth and honor. Ask yourself, have you ever built your service that way? Let this be a lesson etched into your memory. Prosperity follows the man who initiates useful service, who serves not because he is forced, but because he chooses to offer the best of himself before asking anything in return. It is the attitude of the heart that magnetizes success. I ask you plainly, are you the type who says, "They don't pay me enough to do that"? Then I tell you, you have damned your own progress. You will stay where you are, chained by your own belief. But if you say, "Let me do this with excellence, and I trust that reward will find me," then success has already begun to stir beneath your feet. The world is watching always. People do not always say it aloud, but they recognize greatness when it appears. Render useful service, more and better than what is paid for, and you will begin to stand out as one who carries the mark of destiny. Let me repeat to you what Emerson taught, and I learned from personal pain and trial. If you serve an ungrateful master, serve him the more. Put God in your debt. Every stroke shall be repaid. This is the law that rules all success. If you withhold service, your compensation will be withheld. If you give abundantly, life will outgive you. There was a woman I once knew, a stenographer, earning $15 a week, but she formed the habit of doing more work than required, better than was expected. Within a few short years, she was earning over $100,000 annually from the lecture platform. What changed? Not her education, not her circumstances. It was her obedience to the law of service before reward. Let the lazy man scoff. Let the cynic mock. But the truth remains. God cannot be mocked. That which a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Sow little, reap little. Sow complaints, reap scarcity. But if you sow faith, diligence, excellence, and extra effort, the invisible gears of abundance will begin to move in your favor. I once delivered a lecture and refused the fee. The people were so moved by my willingness to give without asking that they subscribed to my magazine in such great numbers that I made 50 times more than the original sum. Why? Because the law was set into motion. Give more, expect less, and you shall receive more than you expected. What does this mean for you today? It means you must stop counting the hours, stop counting the coins, stop asking, "What do I get?" and begin asking, "What can I give?" Every man I have studied who rose from obscurity to fortune followed this pattern. He did not climb the mountain by clinging to the pay stub. He rose because he served first. You may say, "But the world is unfair." Yes, it is, and that is your opportunity. Because most men are not willing to give more, your decision to do so instantly places you above them. In times of economic crisis, those who only do the minimum are the first to be discarded. But those who go the extra mile, they are irreplaceable. Every employer, whether they say it or not, is searching for one thing: a mind that will serve without excuse. You do not have to wait to be chosen. The moment you begin rendering useful service with definiteness, enthusiasm, and faith, the world begins choosing you. One by one, doors open. Invisible hands move. Coincidences become divine appointments. I have seen men move from clerk to partner, from street vendor to owner, from messenger boy to financier, not because of genius, but because they outserved everyone else. They rose by merit of performance, and God himself honored it. Do you understand what this means? It means you are the architect of your income. You determine the ceiling, not your employer, not the economy, not even the government. The quality and quantity of your service, this is your wealth thermostat. Increase it, and you must be paid more. Delay it, and life will delay your prosperity. Every morning you should awaken and say aloud, "I render useful service today, willingly, abundantly, and with excellence. I give more than I am paid for, and I am paid more than I give. I rise by lifting others. I attract wealth by obedience to this law." Repeat this affirmation until it becomes part of your very soul. I render more service than I am paid for. I rise by lifting others. I am a man of action, faith, and generosity. Make these your daily bread and watch as the heavens respond. I challenge you, yes, I dare you, to test this law. For 30 days, render service that exceeds what is expected. Help someone without asking for anything. Do your work as if you already owned the company. And keep silent about your sacrifice. Do it in faith, in obedience, in quiet power. You will be amazed how swiftly results arrive. In the final accounting of all things, no act of service goes unpaid. It may not come from where you expected, but it will come, and it will be multiplied if given in faith and humility. This is God's economy. Let me show you something deeper still. When you render useful service, your mind expands, your faith deepens, your attention sharpens, and new ideas, new relationships, new opportunities, these begin to orbit around you like bees to nectar. You become a magnet for prosperity. Why? Because the world hungers for usefulness, for character, for value. And when you become the embodiment of value, wealth must obey you. Even in your darkest hour, remember this: useful service is the ladder. You can be buried in debt, crushed by loss, forgotten by friends, but if you still offer something valuable and do it faithfully, you are rising again step by step without even knowing it. Let me leave you with this. I have failed. I have lost. I have tasted the dust of bankruptcy. But I always rose again by rendering more service than I was paid for. When the world had closed its doors to me, I opened the door of my own spirit and said, "Give first, give more, give better. Do not be deceived by the illusion of quick riches. You cannot receive what you have not earned, but if you earn it with joy and persistence, you shall receive compound interest upon compound interest. That is the divine path. That is the law of prosperity. And it begins with you. You say you have faith. You say you believe in infinite intelligence. You speak of prayer and purpose and progress. But I say, where is your discipline? For discipline is the physical evidence of belief. It is the daily proof that your faith is real, not fantasy. To say you believe and yet to live without order, structure, and obedience is to lie to your own soul. Faith that does not command the body is no faith at all. You cannot drift through life and expect to receive the rewards meant for the definite. The man of true faith does not wait for inspiration to act. He acts and trusts that inspiration will meet him at the hour of action. He does not wait to feel like working. He works. He does not wait to feel confident. He decides. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you must construct. And I tell you, the blueprint of that construction is faith. If you believe that God has placed you on this earth for a purpose, then rise each morning and act like it. March through your day as if heaven itself had appointed your tasks. There are no idle hours in the life of a man who believes. There are no wasted moments, for every second is a divine trust. To squander your time is to spit in the face of providence. To drift is to deny the gift of your own mind. The Creator gave you a brain. Use it. The Creator gave you time. Guard it. The Creator gave you purpose. Pursue it. I have studied the men who moved nations. I have spoken with those who ruled industry. And not one of them achieved greatness without iron discipline. Andrew Carnegie made millions not through cleverness, but through precision. He scheduled his minutes. He trained his mind to obey. He mastered delay and bent procrastination underfoot. Thomas Edison, what of him? Did he build the electric light by hoping? No, he tried and failed over 10,000 times. And each time he tried again, not because he was always motivated, but because he was disciplined. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline is forever. A man cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve faith and laziness. You cannot serve purpose and comfort. You must choose. And I say this to you plainly. If your days are without structure, your belief is without strength, if your will is weak, your faith is imaginary. True faith sharpens a man's will. It makes him rise early, speak clearly, walk purposefully. It makes him willing to suffer hardship. It makes him capable of ignoring distraction. Faith does not beg for ease. It commands the spirit to endure. Now hear me well. Discipline begins where comfort ends. Every excuse you allow is a step away from your destiny. Every compromise with laziness is a denial of your future. The man who disciplines his habits controls his fate. The man who obeys his purpose commands his future. Repeat after me. I am not a slave to comfort. I am the master of my time. I obey the call of purpose. I rise when I do not feel like it. I act when I am afraid. I command my days with faith and discipline. There is no greatness in comfort. There is no transformation in ease. Think of Abraham Lincoln. Did he live a life of luxury? No, he walked through tragedy, failure, ridicule, and loss. But he obeyed the inner voice. He moved with discipline, and that is why history remembers him. Discipline is the price of freedom. Men who lack discipline must beg others to lead them. They are tossed like leaves in the wind, moved by circumstances, not by purpose. But you are not a leaf. You are the seed of God's divine plan. You were created to prosper, but you must obey the law of action. And action is not a one-time event. It is repetition. It is rhythm. It is ritual. When you rise at the same hour, think the same thoughts, speak the same affirmations, execute the same purpose, day after day, you become a force. You become unstoppable. Not because you are strong, but because you are consistent. Let others drift. Let others follow pleasure. Let others live like reeds in the wind. You shall walk like a pillar. You shall stand firm. You shall become a man of steel will and golden purpose. Because you know that faith without discipline is a dream, but faith with discipline is destiny. Let me tell you what will happen if you ignore this truth. You will continue to wake up tired. You will continue to chase whims. You will continue to start and never finish. You will fall for every temptation. You will fail in silence and blame everyone but yourself. Your mind will rot in idleness. Your body will wither in laziness. Your name will be forgotten. And worst of all, you will know deep within your soul that you were meant for more. And that knowledge will torture you. That is the hell reserved for the undisciplined. But if you choose the harder road, if you choose the disciplined life, then I promise you, the gates of prosperity will open. You will see yourself change. You will feel power course through your blood. You will rise before others and build what others only wish for. You will become a magnet for opportunity, for you will finally be worthy of it. And that is the word I give you now, worthiness. Discipline makes you worthy, worthy of wealth, worthy of leadership, worthy of trust, worthy of divine favor. You do not earn heaven's riches with empty prayers. You earn them with action. You earn them with commitment. You earn them by making your life a sermon of discipline, spoken not with your mouth, but with your behavior. So ask yourself now, do you believe? Then show it, prove it, with your morning routine, with your use of time, with your words, with your silence, with your action in the face of fear, with your perseverance in the face of delay. Discipline does not come all at once. It is forged like steel, first with fire, then with strike after strike after strike. You must become a blacksmith of your own mind. Hammer it, shape it, cool it, repeat. Do not trust feelings, trust purpose. Do not chase mood, chase mission. Feelings are like wind. Discipline is the anchor, and the man who anchors himself in daily discipline shall never be lost at sea. Now I give you this charge. Put your schedule on the wall. Declare your standards aloud. Practice your habits with reverence, for they are sacred. Read your chief aim twice daily. Let no day pass without taking action. And if you fail, rise instantly. Never excuse, never retreat. Never betray your belief by laziness again. Say this with me. My belief is made flesh in my behavior. My faith is revealed in my discipline. I was created to prosper, and I obey the laws that lead to prosperity. I do not wait, I act. I do not drift, I decide. I do not wish, I work. God rewards the diligent. Life bows to the determined. Heaven honors the disciplined. And I say again, discipline is the living proof that faith is real. Now move forward. Let your every action proclaim what you believe. Let your schedule be your testimony. Let your obedience be your sermon. Let your order be your worship. Let your discipline be your glory. For in discipline your destiny is fulfilled. You may believe your future lies in your faith, your work, or your ideas, but I tell you plainly, your associations are the gatekeepers of your prosperity. The men you walk with, the voices you hear, the minds you permit to speak into your life, these determine whether your spirit ascends or decays. God has ordained that no man shall rise alone. Even the greatest must lean on other minds. This is not weakness, it is law. The mastermind principle is spiritual. It is the joining of two or more minds in harmony toward a definite purpose. When such unity is formed, a third, more powerful mind is created, greater than the sum of its parts. Edison did not build his inventions alone. He worked in concentrated fellowship with men of similar belief and tireless energy. Henry Ford leaned on spiritual advisors and strategists who reinforced his vision. Carnegie gathered the sharpest thinkers, men of discipline and loyalty, and together they created something no single man could build. This is not social advice, this is spiritual law. The men you associate with form a spiritual agreement. If they drift, you will drift. If they doubt, you will delay. If they mock your vision, you will shrink in silence. This is why so many with potential never rise. They are chained to mediocrity by their company. Say this now. I choose only voices that multiply my vision. I walk with those who are called to rise. I speak my future only to the faithful. This is not arrogance. It is obedience to spiritual truth. If you speak your dream to the blind, they will curse it. If you share your plans with the faithless, they will poison it. God never calls a man to purpose without calling him away from the crowd. Abraham was told to leave his father's house. Jesus separated himself from the multitudes to pray. Every man of destiny must guard his environment with vigilance. And let me be clear, you do not need many. You need the right few. One aligned friend is worth more than 50 spectators. Two minds in harmony with divine law can do more in 90 days than 1,000 men in confusion can do in a decade. Find one man, just one, who believes in your definite chief aim. Share your vision. Commit to sharpening each other daily. Read together. Speak your aims aloud. Hold each other to account. This is your mastermind, and it is sacred. Let others mock you. Let them call you obsessed, intense, or strange. The world mocks what it does not understand. But those who walk the divine path are not concerned with popularity. They are concerned with fruitfulness. You must now conduct an inventory of association. Who are the 5 minds you spend the most time with? Do they challenge your mediocrity or comfort it? Do they fuel your vision or drain it? Do they walk with purpose or wander in complaint? If you find any man in your circle who speaks against growth, mocks faith, laughs at discipline, or defends failure, cut the tie. Not with bitterness, but with clarity. Not with hatred, but with decision. Your future demands it. Say this aloud. I do not speak my vision to the blind. I do not explain myself to the drifting. I protect the fire of my purpose with silence and select fellowship. This is your sacred responsibility. You are either forming a master mind or you are submitting to the master lie. That you can rise while surrounded by voices of doubt. You cannot. That is rebellion against spiritual order. Remember this story. There was a man, brilliant and capable, but he kept company with weak-willed flatterers. Every time he began to rise, they sowed seeds of hesitation. They questioned his every move. They laughed at his plans. And though he had more skill than them all, he never escaped his circle. He died unknown, not for lack of ability, but for lack of courage to change his environment. Contrast him with another, A poor boy, surrounded by failure, left his village, found men who believed in discipline and vision. He served them, learned from them, and became one of the richest men in America. His name, Andrew Carnegie. What separated them? Not IQ, not inheritance, not luck, association. One refused to break free, the other refused to settle, and one became legend. Hear me now. If you walk with the wise, you shall become wise. But if you walk with fools, your destiny will rot in laughter and idle speech. This is not suggestion, this is law. Choose your circle as if your life depends on it, because it does. Your environment will either make your faith grow or die. Your conversations will either strengthen your belief or drown it. And your mastermind will either birth your future or bury it. Now I give you a challenge. For the next 30 days, speak only to those who are definite in purpose, disciplined in habit, and honorable in spirit. Limit conversations to those who walk with vision. Watch how your energy changes. Watch how your mind sharpens. Watch how favor begins to flow. And do not wait for perfect people. Wait for committed ones. Do not search for genius. Search for conviction. The mastermind is not about brilliance. It is about harmony and purpose and spirit. One mind sharpens another. Say this now. I am joined to minds of power, purpose, and faith. Together we rise. Together we build. Together we obey the law of increase. This affirmation will become your sword and your shield. Use it. You are no longer a casual friend. You are a covenant man. You do not entertain fools. You do not mingle with mockers. You do not laugh at small thinking. You walk with kings, even if they are not yet crowned, because your spirit recognizes purpose when it sees it. God blesses unity. God empowers partnership. God multiplies where there is agreement. But He cannot multiply the scattered, the disjointed, the confused. Find your circle. Build your altar. Speak your aim aloud in the presence of those who believe, and nothing shall be impossible for you. Now move forward. Choose your company as you would choose your name, for both are sacred, and both determine your future. If you would claim the fullness of prosperity, you must understand this one eternal fact. Your outer world is nothing but the mirrored image of your inner obedience. Obedience to what? To divine law, to infinite intelligence, to the spiritual laws that govern all material success, wealth, peace, and permanence. You cannot cheat divine law. You cannot bribe it, debate it, or defy it without cost. And no man ever escapes the law by cleverness or cunning. Every act, every thought, every motive is weighed, and the scale of justice is exact. It gives back what you give it, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. When I say you were created to prosper, I speak not from speculation, but from law. That which is in harmony with God's order must multiply, and that which is out of harmony must decay. Thus, when you think in harmony with truth, act in harmony with purpose, and live in harmony with faith, you attract all things needful for your success. Consider the law of sowing and reaping. It does not waver. It never fails. The farmer who sows wheat shall never reap thorns, and likewise the man who sows faith, decision, integrity, imagination, and perseverance cannot reap failure. The very fabric of nature is arranged to reward him. The man who fails, fails because he violated the law, either by ignorance, laziness, fear, or indifference. He may plead that the world was against him, but no man is defeated from the outside until he is conquered on the inside. He lost his power the moment he lost his alignment with eternal law. You may look upon the lives of men like Henry Ford, who took no pride in how the world doubted him, but took pride in obeying the inner command of definite purpose. His fortune was not luck, it was law. You may say Andrew Carnegie. You may call it coincidence, you may call it consequence, but the truth remains. No man rises to the heights of enduring prosperity who has not first aligned himself with the invisible, immutable laws that govern all abundance. These laws are divine. They are spiritual in origin, yet practical in application. If there is lack in your life, whether it be money, peace, or strength, it is not because God has withheld it from you, but because you have not yet learned to obey His law. You have not yet earned what you demand. For the universe does not operate on begging, but on cause and effect, and obedience is the cause of all effect. Prosperity is the visible fruit of invisible obedience. You do not pray for an oak tree and receive one without planting the seed. Likewise, you cannot receive wealth unless you plant the actions, the faith, and the service which draw it forth from the soil of spiritual law. God's system is not bribery, it is law. You do not plead with the sun to rise. It rises because it obeys law, and so must you. The golden rule, so often recited and so seldom understood, is not merely a suggestion for kindness. It is the law of return. When you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, you set into motion a boomerang of blessings which, by the law, must find their way back to you multiplied. To disobey this is to court spiritual bankruptcy. The man who cheats another has not yet understood that he cheats only himself. For the moment you deal unjustly with any soul, you place your own prosperity under arrest. You forfeit the trust of infinite intelligence, and you cut off your own source. You may gain silver for a season, but you lose gold for a lifetime. You were not created to suffer. That is not God's plan. You were created to multiply, to expand, to grow, to rise, so long as you remain faithful to the laws upon which all good is built. Every act of honesty, every hour of labor given freely, every thought of faith and definiteness is a deposit into your invisible account with infinite intelligence. And that account pays interest that no bank can match. What you give returns. What you withhold is withheld from you. If you speak the language of lack, lack will be fluent in your life. If you think in terms of fear, you will find fear waiting for you at every door. But if you speak with faith, act with purpose, and walk in obedience, life itself will kneel before you. Let me repeat this. Your prosperity is not an accident. It is the exact measurement of your alignment with divine law. You cannot plant weeds and expect wheat. You cannot idle and expect increase. You cannot deceive and expect deliverance. The world may praise cleverness, but heaven rewards obedience. There is no such thing as luck in the kingdom of success. There is only law. And once you learn that law, once you submit to its discipline, you can predict your prosperity as surely as you can predict the coming of daylight. Obedience to divine law is the highway, and the toll you pay is faith, decision, labor, and love. Consider the life of Andrew Carnegie. Was it chance that took a poor immigrant boy and made him the richest man in the world? Or was it obedience to a code of thought, a discipline of purpose, and a determination to serve others on a massive scale? He rendered service, he created value, and he acted in harmony with law. John D. Rockefeller tithed 10% of his income, long before he had an income worth $10. Why? Because he understood that giving is not a loss, but a lever. He obeyed the principle before he saw the result. That is faith. That is alignment. And that is why his cup overflowed. You must decide today to stop resisting the divine laws that are trying to prosper you. Stop resisting service. Stop resisting discipline. Stop resisting the still voice within that tells you to rise early, to go the extra mile, to clean your thoughts, to correct your speech, to write your chief aim, and to keep your promises. This is not religion. This is not philosophy. This is success science, divinely structured and spiritually sound. When you obey the law begins to obey you. It moves people, places, and opportunities in your favor. It opens doors that no man can shut. It multiplies effort into outcome. But you must begin today. You must begin now. Let not another grain fall through the glass of your life before you turn your will toward divine alignment. Say this aloud, and say it with conviction. I was created to prosper. I am the servant of God's law. I obey with joy. I rise with power. I attract all I need because I give all I am. Repeat it, feel it, live it. For your prosperity is not somewhere out there in the world. It is within. It is waiting behind the locked door of disobedience. And the key you hold is called decision. Make it now. Take one small action today that aligns with your higher calling, and keep taking them until the current of life carries you forward on the wings of divine law. You were never meant to struggle. You were never meant to be afraid of money, afraid of people, afraid of failure. Those are the lies taught by the drifters of the world, not the promises given to you by your Creator. You were meant to rise. You were meant to prosper. You were meant to expand and build and bless. The moment you recognize that prosperity is a spiritual responsibility, not merely a personal ambition, is the moment you become qualified to receive it. It is not a trophy. It is a test. And once you are trusted with it, you will never lose it again. I charge you now to go and write these words where you will see them morning and night. I am obedient to divine law. I give service daily. I think only thoughts of growth. I am here to prosper and to bless. And with that charge, begin your new life. Begin it with faith. Begin it with enthusiasm. Begin it with absolute confidence that the law will not fail you, for it never has and never will. Your reward is not somewhere in the sky nor buried in the earth. It is wrapped in your decisions, and today you decide to prosper. Today you obey. Today you rise. Let the whole world drift if it must. You will not. Let others speak of luck. You will speak of law. Let others chase shadows. You will build with light. For you know now and shall never forget, your prosperity is the proof of your obedience to divine law. If your life feels like it's falling apart, if doors are closing, if the people you counted on have grown silent, and if everything you touch seems to slip from your hands, I must tell you, you are not being destroyed. You are being tested. And more than that, you are being chosen. Chosen for a blessing so great that it demands your full transformation before it can be placed in your hands. But listen closely, truly listen, because there is a difference between hearing these words and letting them rearrange the very structure of your thinking. A man may hear truth 100 times and remain unchanged, but the one who listens, who sits still, who opens his mind, who allows each sentence to strike the core of his being, that man walks away different. And this speech will not serve the man who merely hears. It was written for the man who listens as if his future depends on it, because it does. There are divine laws in motion right now, laws that do not bow to emotion or convenience, laws that reward only the man who endures the fire with faith. And what I am about to reveal to you are the 7 unmistakable signs that God is preparing you for that reward. If you ignore these signs, you may abandon the test before the blessing is delivered. You may misread your preparation as punishment and quit one moment too soon. But if you listen, really listen, you will see your present trial for what it truly is. Not a curse, but a calling. You will gain the ability to hold on while others let go. You will rise where others shrink. You will recognize the rhythm of testing as the prelude to the symphony of success. And when that blessing comes, because it will, you will not be surprised. You will be ready. So I ask you, are you willing to listen, not with ears, but with decision, with desire, with discipline? Because if you are, you may hear something today that changes the entire course of your life, but miss it, and you may remain stuck for another year, another decade, another lifetime. The choice is yours. Listen, and take your place among those who are destined for greatness. Introduction: the furnace of faith. Why every great blessing requires a great test. If life feels harder now than it ever has before, then I must tell you, your blessing is closer than it has ever been. The heat you feel is not destruction, it is refinement. You are being tested, not abandoned. For no man receives greatness until he proves he can endure the weight of preparation without surrender. Do you believe that success comes freely? That riches fall from the heavens into the hands of the indifferent? I tell you plainly, No such thing occurs in this world or the next. Every blessing carries weight, and that weight must be earned, not by luck, not by inheritance, but by passing through fire with faith. The road to greatness is never paved with ease. It is guarded by delay, surrounded by fear, shrouded in darkness, and lined with every temptation to turn back. Why? Because only the man who moves forward through all this is worthy of what lies ahead. Only he is capable of holding the power he desires without losing himself in it. You must understand that the trial is not a trap. It is a gate. It is a furnace through which weak metals melt and pure gold is revealed. The difficulty you face is not in your way. It is the way. God does not test a man to hurt him. He tests him to reveal him. For until you know what you are made of, how can you hold what you are praying for? A blessing too early becomes a burden. That is why the universe delays. That is why infinite intelligence waits. A man cannot build an empire with the spirit of a beggar. He must first become definite in thought, unwavering in aim, and forged in endurance. The test you are under is not punishment. It is transformation. The waiting season, as men call it, is the most sacred classroom on earth. It is where you learn the discipline of stillness. It is where your thoughts must be commanded into order. It is where the lazy are exposed and the faithful are refined. What feels like delay is divine preparation for a life you cannot yet comprehend. Henry Ford did not walk into greatness. He was shaped for it. He was laughed at, doubted, bankrupt, and betrayed. But he refused to drift. He acted on his definite chief aim when all others quit. And when the world caught up to his vision, he was already prepared because the furnace had done its work. Let me tell you this. God will not place a crown upon the head of a man who cannot carry the weight of discipline. He will not fill your hands with riches if your mind is still filled with fear. He will not multiply what you cannot manage. The test is not in the outer world. It is in you. If you cry out for elevation, expect pressure. If you ask for abundance, expect to be made responsible. If you pray for influence, expect your character to be sharpened. For with every spiritual request comes a trial that asks, how badly do you want it? And that trial will demand everything you are. Every successful man you admire was tested before he was trusted. Carnegie, Edison, Rockefeller, they all walked through storms of criticism, scarcity, and solitude before they held power. The world only saw the outcome. But the test, oh, the test, was where the foundation was truly laid. There is a spiritual law that governs this process. No reward without readiness. And readiness is not proclaimed. It is proven. It is revealed when a man holds to his vision in darkness. When he speaks belief while surrounded by silence. When he chooses forward motion though nothing around him moves. Your present pain is not a contradiction of your future promise. It is the confirmation of it. The deeper the pressure, the higher the purpose. The longer the delay, the greater the reward. You are not being destroyed. You are being developed, and the difference lies in what you believe. Do you see now? Every trial is a question. Every delay is a mirror. Every setback is a chisel. The hand of God is not absent. It is actively shaping you. You cannot hold greatness with a fragile grip. You cannot pour wisdom into a cracked vessel. That is why this furnace exists. And the longer you resist the test, the longer the delay. The blessing cannot be forced. It can only be earned. So submit your fear to faith. Submit your complaint to decision. Submit your excuses to purpose. This is the only way to rise, for every success must be built upon inner victory. Do not envy the man who rose easily. His fall will come just as fast. Envy the man who endured, who was tried, who held to faith when all things failed. That man is unshakable. That man has power. That man is who you are becoming if you choose to endure the fire. This is why I tell you, again and again, you must have a definite chief aim. Without it, you will wander in this season of testing and call it suffering. But with it, You will understand the pressure as divine. You will see the heat as a sign that your gold is near the surface. Speak these words aloud with me now. I am not being punished. I am being prepared. Every trial is a sign that I am worthy of greatness. I endure the fire. I welcome the furnace. I pass the test. And remember this, God does not bless your comfort. He blesses your capacity. And that capacity is being formed in this very moment, if you will let it. Sign number 1, you are being stripped of all comfort. When God begins preparing a man for greatness, the first thing he removes is comfort. Not because comfort is evil, but because it makes a man soft. A man wrapped in ease never discovers the edge of his own potential, so God takes what you lean on. He removes what you cling to. He shakes the ground beneath you so you will rise and build on rock, not sand. The first test is always subtraction, and it comes when you are most unaware. One day you awaken to find that what once felt certain is now uncertain. The job disappears, the bank account dries up, the relationships dissolve, the plans that once gave you peace suddenly collapse, and you are left standing in a silence that demands an answer from within. This moment is not a curse, it is a sign. You are being stripped not for punishment, but for power. You are being pruned so that you may grow. For no man can carry out a definite purpose while still entangled in the cushions of mediocrity. And nothing reveals the fire of purpose faster than the sting of discomfort. You may say, why is this happening to me? And I tell you, it is happening for you. You have asked for growth. This is the answer. You have asked for greatness. This is the preparation. You have asked for abundance. This is the awakening. For only when a man is forced to stand alone does he discover whether his foundation is faith or fantasy. Abraham Lincoln was not born in a mansion. He was born in a log cabin. No silver spoon, no applause, no shortcut. His early life was loss upon loss, death, poverty, and defeat. But from that furnace emerged a man who could carry the burden of a nation. His pain was not a disqualification, it was proof of preparation. And so I ask you, what are you reaching for in the dark? Are you trying to rebuild your comfort, or are you ready to build your character? Are you mourning what was lost, or have you begun preparing for what must be gained? Because this season will not last forever, but how you move in it will define the man you become. This is the secret most never grasp. Desire is not born in luxury. It is born in lack. It is born in that sacred moment where the world says no, and your soul shouts yes with nothing to back it but belief. If you wait for comfort to commit, you will wait forever. But if you choose faith in the storm, you will emerge as a man no storm can touch. The 6 ghosts of fear will visit you in this hour. Poverty will whisper lies. Criticism will call you foolish. Ill health will sap your strength. But I say again, stand firm. This is the proving ground. This is the gate to power. This is the place where you declare yourself not a victim of life, but a master of thought. You will never discover what you're truly made of until the world has taken its hands off you. For as long as you depend on man's approval or the world's comfort or your current conditions, you will never be free. The man who commands wealth is not the man who was handed ease. It is the man who stood up when there was no reason left to stand. Comfort dulls the vision, but discomfort clarifies it. It reveals what matters. It calls the voice of purpose out of the pit, and it awakens a burning desire not for escape, but for elevation. For the man who walks through discomfort without breaking, without drifting, without losing faith, that man is being watched. That man is being prepared. The hour has come for decision. Will you sit in the ashes and wait for someone to rescue you? Or will you rise, not with excuses, but with purpose? Will you beg for comfort to return, or will you thank God for the fire that made you focus? Because the man you become now will be the man entrusted with the next level of life. I have seen this pattern unfold in every great success. The stripping comes before the strengthening. The silence comes before the voice. The discomfort comes before the breakthrough. It is law, it is order, and it does not fail. But only the man with eyes to see and faith to act will recognize the blessing hidden in the blow. So welcome the loss, not with despair, but with determination. Welcome the silence, not with fear, but with faith. Welcome the test, not with doubt, but with discipline. Because what has been taken from you is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the removal of the unnecessary so that the essential can rise. And you, my friend, are essential to a purpose greater than what you've yet seen. But you must walk through this stage with boldness, with decision, with clarity. Say aloud with me now, I do not fear the loss of comfort. I welcome discomfort as proof of my coming power. I am being refined. I am being rebuilt. I am being readied. This is how a new foundation is laid, not with bricks of ease, but with the stone of endurance. Comfort will return, yes, but it will return under your command, and you will never again serve it. You will make it serve you. Sign number 2, delays multiply, yet your vision won't let you quit. What do you do when it takes twice as long as you thought? What do you do when the doors remain shut, the progress halts, and the world offers only silence in return for your labor? If your first instinct is to doubt, then you have not yet understood the purpose of delay. Delay is not denial. It is the sifting ground where desire is tested and refined. When God intends to bless a man greatly, he does not answer quickly. He waits, he observes, he listens, not to your words, but to your will. Will you stay the course? Will you speak faith even when time mocks you? Will you hold fast when nothing moves? This is not cruelty. This is confirmation. You are being proven, not punished. Delay is heaven's question. Do you still want it? Not with comfort, not with applause, not with external support, but with fire in the belly and steel in the spine. The man who quits in the delay proves he never believed in the vision. But the man who holds fast while the hours stretch, while the answers stall, he is the man being prepared. There is a kind of spiritual defiance you must develop, a holy refusal to let go of what you saw in the vision, even when your circumstances contradict it. This is the power of autosuggestion, to stand before the mirror, look into your own eyes and declare, I will not quit. I will not retreat. I will not abandon my purpose. You see, infinite intelligence does not answer doubt. It answers faith. And faith is proven only by repetition of thought, of belief, of action, despite delay. If you only believe when it's easy, your faith is shallow. But when the days turn to months, and the months to years, and your belief still burns, then the universe must respond. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times in his pursuit of the electric light, but he refused to accept the word failure. He called each delay a lesson, each defeat an instruction. And it was because he persisted through the rhythm of delay that he earned the right to illuminate the world. That is not accident. That is law. The law of hypnotic rhythm states that thoughts repeated often enough become fixed patterns. If your reaction to delay is discouragement, that will become your habit. But if your response is faith, then faith becomes your rhythm. And a man whose rhythm is faith cannot be stopped. Not by time, not by man, not by adversity. This is where most abandon their aim. They mistake divine timing for denial. They compare their speed to others and grow weary. But the blessing does not come when you want it. It comes when you are ready. And readiness is measured not in months, but in mastery of your emotions, your thoughts, your persistence. Every great achievement you admire was delayed, not to taunt the man pursuing it, but to temper him, to strengthen his focus, to develop his identity. For when the vision comes to pass, It must rest in the hands of a man who has outlasted time, not one who was flattered into action, but one who refused to stop when no one believed. The delay will tempt you to settle. It will whisper, "Take something easier." It will offer you imitation blessings, half-built, incomplete, small enough to satisfy the weak. But you must respond with decision. You must say, "I did not start this to quit. I did not receive this vision to abandon it halfway. I am the man who finishes." This is the difference between the dreamer and the doer. The dreamer complains about delay. The doer converts it into discipline. The dreamer says, "Maybe it wasn't meant to be." The doer says, "It's not finished yet, because I'm not finished yet." Delay is only deadly to those who never truly desired what they claimed to pursue. And here is a great secret. When delay appears, speak faster. When progress halts, plan harder. When time resists you, outwork time. Do not match the rhythm of stagnation. Override it. Push through. Because eventually the gate will open, not for the man who waited, but for the man who kept walking anyway. There is a law in nature. No seed breaks the earth on the day it is planted. It is buried, it is hidden, it is delayed. But below the surface, where no man sees, a miracle is forming. And one day it breaks through, not because the earth gave way, but because the seed refused to stop growing. You are that seed. And this delay is not a grave, it is a womb. The birth of your greatness is near, but it cannot be rushed. It cannot be tampered with. And it must not be abandoned. For the moment you walk away is often the moment the roots were just about to break free. Let these words be etched in your spirit. I am the type of man who finishes what he begins. I outlast time through faith. My delay is not death. It is development. I will not quit. Speak them aloud. Write them down. Repeat them daily. Because what you say during delay becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you attract. No man climbs the mountain who cannot wait for the storm to pass. No man inherits power without first mastering the test of time. The blessing will not be early, but it will be exact. It will arrive the moment your character is large enough to receive it. And if it has not come yet, it only means that you are not done yet. So do not curse the delay. Use it. And one day you will look back and say, I am who I am because I did not quit when everything told me to. Sign number 3, you are surrounded by doubters and criticism. If you find yourself surrounded by doubters, critics, and small minds who cannot see your vision, do not despair. Rejoice. It means you are walking a path too large for the average man to comprehend. God will not elevate you without first teaching you to walk alone among those who misunderstand you, and even among those who mock you. The test of criticism is one of the fiercest. It does not strike the body. It strikes the mind. It whispers, "What if they're right?" It tempts you to shrink, to soften your words, to dim your light. But make no mistake. Criticism is the fire in which belief is purified. For only the man who has faced mockery and stayed the course is worthy of the crown. You must understand this law. The man who cannot withstand doubt from others is still ruled by doubt within. Critics are merely the reflection of your own subconscious hesitation, and God will allow their voices to echo until you decide to silence them by action, not argument. Do you think Andrew Carnegie was celebrated in the beginning? He was mocked as a naive idealist. When he placed his faith in a young man with no fortune, myself, they called him a fool. But that belief gave birth to principles that would transform the world. He was not deceived. He was certain. And certainty offends those who live in hesitation. You will be called arrogant. You will be called crazy. You will be called unrealistic. And these are the highest compliments a drifting world can give to a man of vision. For when the crowd does not recognize your aim, it means your aim comes from a higher source. It means you have not conformed to smallness. Doubt is a universal language among the unsuccessful. They use it to protect themselves from the responsibility of belief. For if they can pull you down with their words, they no longer have to rise by their actions. But I warn you, never fight with critics. Rise beyond them. Prove them wrong by your result, not your rebuttal. Faith must not require validation. If it does, it is not faith. It is approval seeking. The man who is moved by public opinion will never build anything the public will one day admire, because greatness is always ridiculed before it is respected. That is the law. That is the pattern. And you must obey it with joy. There is no success without misunderstanding. There is no vision without rejection. There is no elevation without separation. You cannot bring everyone with you, and you were never meant to. Some were placed in your life to be the resistance you must push through, not the wind beneath your wings. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Accurate thinking requires you to separate fact from opinion. And criticism is almost always opinion, shaped by fear, by jealousy, or by limitation. If a man has not walked your path, he has no authority to define it. If he has not carried your burden, he cannot measure your calling. Criticism does not define your worth. It reveals theirs. It shows how small a man must think to attack what he does not understand. But if you internalize that smallness, you will begin to shrink. You will begin to second guess. You will begin to apologize for the very dream God placed in your spirit. And that is the danger. Not their words, but your reaction to them. The man who allows himself to be swayed by every sneer will never hold dominion. The man who changes course with every opinion will never build a straight road. You must fix your gaze. You must harden your decision. You must move regardless. Repeat after me now. I hear the voices of doubt, and still I press forward. My faith is louder than the world's fear. My aim is clear. My vision is divine. I do not seek their approval. I follow my purpose. There is more power in one man with a definite chief aim than in 1,000 critics with none. And the irony is that one day, those same critics will marvel at what you've built. But only if you endure, only if you do not fold beneath their ridicule, only if you prove your faith with action, not once, but repeatedly. Let them talk, let them mock, let them dismiss. Every word they speak is building the platform on which you will one day stand. Every insult is a rung in the ladder. Every laugh is fuel for the fire. For the man who refuses to bow to the crowd is the man the crowd one day rises to applaud. Remember, God uses enemies to build warriors. He allows criticism to strengthen your certainty. He permits ridicule so that your faith will no longer be weak. This is not an accident. This is training. And the faster you embrace it, the faster you rise through it. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become undeniable. And you will become undeniable the moment your actions speak so loudly that your critics must fall silent, not because they changed, but because you did. Speak it again. My faith is louder than the world's fear. I press forward. I am unmoved by small minds. I follow the voice within. You will be tested by doubt, but you will pass. You will be refined by ridicule, but you will rise. And when you stand in the light of your achievement, you will know, I earned this not because they believed, but because I did. Sign number 4, everything you try seems to fail. Failure is never the end. It is a summons, a divine interruption, a trumpet blast from infinite intelligence declaring, rise again, this time wiser. If everything you attempt appears to fall apart, it is not because you are forsaken. It is because you are being fashioned into someone strong enough to succeed permanently, not briefly, not accidentally, but eternally. Most men believe that success is the absence of failure. That is an illusion. Success is born through failure, mastered failure, understood failure, applied failure. Every defeat contains a message, a mirror, and a map. But only the man who listens, looks, and learns receives the gift wrapped inside the rejection. The man who cannot bear defeat is not yet qualified to bear success, for success comes with weight, responsibility, temptation, pressure. And if you have not been trained in difficulty, you will not hold up under prosperity. This is why you must not curse your failures. You must study them. Each one is a lesson carved in fire. Charles M. Schwab was told by experts that steel had reached its peak, that it was too unstable, too old, too costly. He was told to quit, to pivot, to abandon his vision. But Schwab saw opportunity in the ashes. He endured industrial setbacks, public criticism, and economic crashes. And still, he built Bethlehem Steel. His failures were not final. They were refining. They revealed to him what the textbooks could not teach. They prepared him for decisions that only a battle-tested man could make. Had he folded under the first storm, history would have forgotten him. But he persisted, and the world remembers. Failure is not a closed door. It is a corridor. It is the hallway between who you were and who you are becoming. And if you turn back in that hallway, you will never know the man waiting at the other end. That man, the one who emerges with vision, with resolve, with power, he is being forged right now. When everything breaks, look again. Look at your plan. Not your purpose, but your plan. Organized planning requires adjustment. If one route fails, form another. If one bridge collapses, build another. The man of decision does not retreat from failure. He replans, and he does it swiftly, without complaint. Too many men make the mistake of marrying their method. They confuse the map with the destination. But your goal is sacred. Your method is temporary. Change your method. Change your structure. But never, never change your mind about your definite chief aim. Each failed attempt contains knowledge, not just of what to avoid, but of how you respond. Do you react with defeat or with direction? Do you shrink or sharpen? The man who succeeds studies his failures like blueprints. He dissects them until they yield their gold. He turns trial into treasure. You may have tried 10 things, try 20. You may have built and watched it fall. Build again. You may have bet all you had and seen no return. Bet again. Because the blessing does not come when things go right. It comes when you become right, when you're no longer shaken by a result, but grounded in resolve. Listen to me now. I am never defeated. I am being shown the way by trial. I shall persist until I win. Speak it, believe it, write it, engrave it. Because if you keep showing up, keep studying, keep adapting, you will eventually create something that cannot fail, because it will be built on tested stone. You are being trained in mental alchemy, the transmutation of disappointment into determination. This is no small thing. Most men collapse after one blow, but not you. You are called to rise again and again, until the wind bows to your will, until the obstacles retreat, until your destiny makes room for your feet. This is how the universe separates the interested from the committed. This is how infinite intelligence asks. Do you truly desire this, or did you only wish for it when it was easy? If your answer is yes, then prove it. Rise, revise, persist. Let the world say you failed. You know better. You were not defeated. You were refined. You were instructed. And you will return to the battlefield armed with wisdom they cannot see and strength they will never understand. Because while they quit, you built character. Repeat after me once more. I am never defeated. I study my setbacks. I reforge my plan. I shall persist until I win. And mark my words. When you stand at the summit, when the plan finally yields fruit, when the vision becomes tangible, you will not thank ease. You will thank every failure that sharpened your mind, tested your faith, and forged your spirit. The blessing belongs to those who are willing to build again with ashes in their hands. And you, my friend, are building not for applause, but for purpose, not for speed, but for permanence, not for today, but for eternity. Sign number 5. You feel completely alone on the journey. There will come a time, if it has not come already, when you feel utterly alone. The calls stop, the doors close, the encouragement disappears. And you look around and wonder, has everyone forgotten me? But this too is a sign, not of abandonment, but of assignment. The assignment to walk the valley that precedes the mountaintop. God does not elevate a man who is addicted to applause. He first separates him, not to harm, but to prepare. Before public favor comes private fire. Before the crown, the cave. Before power, solitude. And if you are walking that lonely road, understand, you are not being cast aside. You are being called up. The man who must be praised to keep moving will never lead. The man who must be surrounded to stay focused is still immature in purpose. But the man who can endure the silence of the season without complaint, that man is being formed into someone unshakable, someone who can be trusted to lead. Rockefeller began not with riches, but with silence. He walked miles to his first job, worked long hours in obscurity, received no recognition, yet his heart remained certain. His purpose stayed fixed. And through those quiet years, a titan was formed, not in front of the crowd, but behind the curtain. Solitude is not a punishment. It is the proving ground for self-mastery. When no one is watching, what do you think? What do you speak? What do you believe? Do you hold fast to your definite chief aim, or do you waver because no one affirms you? This is the measure of your maturity. This is the test that cannot be skipped. For no man can lead others until he has first mastered himself. And self-mastery is not achieved in noise. It is born in silence, when the room is empty, when the rewards are unseen, when only your Creator hears your commitment. That is where strength is built. That is where power is birthed. The mastermind principle cannot function in chaos. Before you can form alliances that multiply power, you must learn to stand without alliance, to think without echo, to act without confirmation. Then, and only then, will your magnetism attract the right partners and repel the wrong ones. The world is filled with men who crave company, but not clarity. They surround themselves with distractions to avoid the mirror of their own soul. But the man who rises listens to the silence. He walks through it. He studies it. He finds in it the voice of infinite intelligence, and he obeys. You may say, "But I feel forgotten." I tell you, you are not forgotten. You are being observed. The eyes of heaven are upon you, not to judge, but to see if you will fold or if you will forge, if you will drift or decide, if you will run or rise, and every day you persist, that invisible applause grows stronger. The loneliness is a crucible. In it, you must learn to be your own fire, your own voice, your own belief system. Not because you will always walk alone, but because the man who must walk with others is not yet ready to lead others. You are being raised to a place of leadership, and leadership begins in solitude. Say this aloud with me now. Though I walk alone, I am never forsaken. My power is built in solitude. I hear the voice within, and I obey it. Your thoughts must be disciplined. Your focus must be deliberate. You must learn to entertain no enemy in your mind, even when no friend sits beside you. For the man who becomes strong in isolation is the man who walks into rooms full of people and does not bow to their opinion. Solitude teaches you to hear your own inner voice, and that voice, when aligned with purpose, becomes the compass that no storm can shake. The crowd may waver, the world may doubt, but the man with internal conviction becomes immovable, and that is who you are becoming now. You are not waiting for support, you are becoming support. You are not seeking validation, you are living from vision. And when the season shifts, and it will shift, you will rise, not as one who stumbled upon success, but as one who was sculpted for it in the secret place. Embrace the silence, use it, multiply your learning, sharpen your thoughts, record your purpose, build your inner sanctuary so that no external storm can dismantle you. And when the day comes that your name is known, you will stand as one who deserves the power you have earned. Repeat it one final time. Though I walk alone, I am never forsaken. I am being prepared in solitude. I shall emerge unstoppable. Let this season complete its work. Let it mold you. Let it mature you. Because when you pass this test, when you no longer fear the silence, you will walk into your calling with authority. And no man will take from you what God has planted in secret. Sign number 6, you are forced to confront your deepest fear. There is one moment in every man's ascent when he must come face to face with the very fear that has ruled his life in secret. It may come through a sudden loss, a brutal disappointment, a sickness of the soul, but it will come. Not to destroy him, but to liberate him. For a man cannot rise until he has conquered what once made him kneel. This is the 6th sign, the most sacred of all. You will know it by the tremble in your gut, the tightening in your chest, the paralyzing whisper that says, "This is too much." That whisper is not your conscience. It is the final ghost of fear, clinging for dear life before it is cast out by decision, discipline, and divine power. The 6 ghosts of fear, poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death, do not announce themselves with thunder. They creep in through thought, through imagination left unchecked, through the subconscious left undisciplined. And so your greatest battles are not outside, they are within. To defeat fear, you must name it. You must no longer pretend it is simply stress or confusion. It is fear, and fear must be dragged into the light. Once seen for what it is, a liar, a parasite, a distortion, it loses its grip. It shrinks under the weight of spiritual truth and definite purpose. Woodrow Wilson faced public scorn. His health failed him. His political enemies sought his destruction. And yet, even in his physical weakness, his mind refused to bend. He knew that purpose is not for the perfect, but for the persistent. He stared death in the face and remained governed by vision, not fear. Fear can only rule the man who believes it. That is the secret. It has no power on its own. It must be invited, it must be accepted, and it must be fed with repeated thoughts of failure, doubt, and helplessness. If you withdraw that attention, fear begins to starve. If you replace it with faith, fear begins to flee. This is where the power of autosuggestion becomes a weapon. You must not speak as your fear would have you speak. You must not think as it would have you think. You must take command of your inner speech and declare aloud, "I am not afraid. I am advancing. I am obeying a power far greater than fear." Do not expect fear to leave you gently. It will rage as it dies. It will offer you compromise. It will tempt you to settle, to retreat, to return to comfort. But you must respond with decision. A decision that says, "I would rather die walking forward than live crawling backward." You were not given a spirit of fear. You were given power, love, and a sound mind. That is law. That is truth. And you must use that truth as a sword, cutting down every whisper that says, "You can't, you won't, you're not enough." Those words are not yours. They are the devil's. Return them to him, unopened. The law of cosmic habit force demands that what you repeat becomes who you are. If you repeat fear, you will live it. If you repeat faith, you will become it. There is no middle ground. You must choose moment by moment who you will obey, the lie of fear or the law of purpose. You are not alone in this battle. Every man you admire fought it, some in public, some in silence. But all were asked the same question by life: will you bow or will you break free? And those who answered with courage were given the keys to kingdoms their fears tried to keep from them. Let this day be the one you remember, the day you looked fear in the eye and said, "You've had your turn, now it's mine." Let it be the day you crossed the invisible threshold between potential and power, the day you finally stopped running and turned to face the ghost. Say this aloud now. Fear is not real. It is a liar I outgrow by faith, decision, and action. I do not bow. I do not retreat. I move forward. Each time you speak this, something within you strengthens. something ancient and eternal, the part of you that was never meant to be ruled by fear, but to master it. And once you have done so, the path ahead will open, not because the fear is gone, but because you are now greater than it. Do not ask to be free from fear. Ask to become so strong that fear no longer moves you. That is the true victory. That is the sign that the blessing is near. For no man is trusted with greatness who still trembles at shadows, but the man who has defeated his demons becomes a king in his own spirit. You have arrived at that moment, and now it is yours to decide. Step back into safety or step forward into power. You already know what I believe you will choose, because the voice within you is no longer the voice of fear. It is the voice of faith becoming flesh. Sign number 7. You are asked to surrender everything except faith. There is a moment on the path to destiny where every external crutch is taken from you. The support vanishes. The resources dry up. The people disappear. The plans fall apart, and you are left with nothing except belief. This is not an accident. This is the final test, the test of surrendered faith. God will reduce you to your foundation to show you what you've truly built your life upon. If your strength was in money, He will allow poverty. If your identity was in applause, He will allow rejection. If your trust was in people, He will allow isolation. Not to destroy you, but to free you from false gods. You prayed to be used. You cried out for greatness. You asked for a life of purpose and power, and now you are being answered. For God cannot place a crown upon a man whose loyalty is still divided. You cannot serve fear and faith. You cannot cling to safety while praying for strength. You must surrender, not to defeat, but to destiny, not to weakness, but to wisdom. Surrender is not the collapse of the weak. It is the decision of the strong. It is the moment a man lays down his illusions and stands upon spiritual truth alone. If all is taken, still I believe. That is the cry of the blessed. When I wrote Think and Grow Rich, I was not a wealthy man. I was not a celebrated teacher. I had no audience to please. I had only faith. I obeyed an invisible command. I wrote what I believed would one day free millions. And though I did not know how it would reach them, I knew that it would. That is surrender. To act without guarantee. To believe without evidence. To obey without applause. And every man who has walked the path of greatness has passed through this very place. The place where he said, "Though I have nothing, I still believe." That is the man who receives the blessing. You may be standing at the edge of all you once trusted. Everything familiar is gone. Everything certain is shaken. But I tell you, this is holy ground. For it is here, and only here, that your belief is no longer borrowed. It is forged, it is owned, it is yours, and no man can take it. This is not the loss of all, it is the removal of noise. It is the invitation to walk not by sight, but by faith. And faith, when all else is gone, becomes a force so unstoppable that it draws provision from places you never imagined. You do not need proof, you need persistence. Let the storm come. Let the winds rise. You will not be moved, not because you see the outcome, but because you trust the outcome, because you know that a man standing on spiritual law cannot be buried by circumstance. He may fall, yes, but he rises with fire. Your definite chief aim still lives, even if the house falls, even if the support vanishes, even if the world says you lost. You have not lost. You have been refined. And what you are building now is not paper wealth. It is power. It is spiritual steel, and it is unshakable. Speak with me aloud now. Even if all is taken from me, I will not lose belief. For faith is the key that unlocks my riches. My supply is infinite. My trust is unbreakable. This is how a man becomes untouchable. Not by hoarding goods, but by mastering trust. Not by clinging to what he sees, but by obeying what he knows. This surrender is not weakness. It is alignment with infinite intelligence. No plan survives without this level of trust, for all plans are tested, all paths are stormed. But the man who walks forward with eyes on the invisible, the man who obeys when nothing in the world affirms him, that man has become what no enemy can defeat. Do not ask to understand everything. Ask to obey without understanding. That is faith. That is the mind that moves mountains. That is the man whom God blesses, not in comfort, but in courage, not in safety, but in surrender. Repeat it again. Even if all is taken from me, I will not lose belief. I trust the law. I follow the voice. My blessing is near. You will look back on this hour not as the end, but as the beginning. The hour your faith became real, the hour your strength was not borrowed, but born. And when the blessing comes, and it will, you will not be surprised. You will be ready. Final chapter. The man God blesses cannot be broken. If you are being tested, you are being trusted. This is the truth. The greater the pressure, the greater the purpose. The longer the silence, the louder the future call. The weight you now carry is not punishment. It is preparation. And when the hour comes, all of it will make sense. But only to the man who endured. Look back now. Look at the road you've walked, the comfort that was stripped, the delays that stretched endlessly, the critics that shouted, the failures that repeated, the solitude that surrounded you, the fears that haunted you, the surrender that emptied you. And still you are here. Still you believe. You did not drift. You did not fold. You did not retreat. You stood. And by standing, you proved yourself, not to man, but to the divine. For God does not bless the strongest. He blesses the most faithful. He does not reward the loudest. He rewards the most obedient, and you have obeyed. Each sign you faced was not random. It was intentional. Each sign you passed was a seal. And now you have walked through fire and emerged as gold. You are no longer the man you once were. That man depended on circumstances. This man commands them. That man feared storms. This man rides them. There are men who break under testing, and there are men who are broken open. Broken open so that the old may be burned away and the new may arise. You have not been destroyed. You have been uncovered. The weakness has been peeled away, the doubt burned out. What remains now is true. And the man who remains, he is not soft, he is not lost, he is not shaken, he is ready, ready to receive, ready to carry, ready to multiply what is entrusted to him. For the man who has passed the test has become the vessel for the very thing he once pursued in desperation. So now the choice stands before you. Will you return to the comfort of average, or will you rise into the life you were called to? Will you carry this power forward, or bury it in silence? Because the blessing is no longer distant, it is knocking. And only a man of decision will open the door. You are not who you were. You cannot return to drifting. You cannot retreat to weakness. The old man is gone. The test has changed you. And now the habits must change. The schedule must change. The thoughts must change. For your results can only rise as high as your identity. Take a pen. Write your definite chief aim. Put it on your wall. Put it on your mirror. Speak it aloud morning and night. Burn it into your mind until no fear can erase it. And then act. Act every day. Even small actions are proof to the universe that you mean what you say. Declare this aloud with me now. I am the man God is preparing for greatness. I welcome the test. I do not drift. I do not fear. I persist. I obey the voice within. I shall be victorious. Do not merely repeat this. Live it. Let it enter your bloodstream. Let it shape your posture. Let it govern your decisions. Because this is how the future is built. Not with luck, not with chance, but with faith, decision, and persistent, definite action. The law of cosmic habit force is now on your side. Each thought you repeat, each action you take, forms the pattern of the man you are becoming. and that pattern will attract what you are prepared to hold. No more, no less. You are writing your future in every thought you allow. And if you ever forget who you are, return to this truth. You are the man who walked through fire. You are the man who faced delay and did not quit. You are the man who stood alone and kept believing. You are the man who stared fear in the face and acted anyway. You are the man who let go of everything and still held on to faith. So I ask you, not with doubt, but with power, how badly do you want it? Because now you are ready to receive it. Go, speak, act, building lead, bless, for the test is finished, and the man who remains cannot be broken.